Welcome Underhive scumbags to episode 7 of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Aaron. And Michael.
Unfortunately, Aaron couldn't make it today. Thankfully, he still will be doing the editing, so there's only so much I can say without him maybe editing it out. So I can't talk about his addiction to the Pleasure Dome and his love for Big Sally because he'll probably cut this out. Today we've got a big episode again with Chaos Cultists and the hangers-on we're going to discuss as part of the old Gang War 2. We need to discuss these as obviously Gang War 3 is now literally just come out this weekend. Yeah. So we'll obviously have something else to talk about next episode. And we have the post-salute discussion today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it was so long ago.
Yeah, we had the pre-salute and I thought we need a post-salute because we haven't done it, so that's part of today. Just before we start, we've still got the Versatile Terrain competition. So this is our second competition. Versatile Terrain have agreed to give away 12 32mm or 25mm customised nameplates for the bases. We discussed this last episode as well. We've changed the competition slightly, so with you liking and following the Instagram account, we're going to do it when it reaches 600 followers rather than 700. So hopefully by next episode we'll be able to discuss the winner, which will then allow us to go on to the next competition. So it's just going on finding Necromunda Tom on Instagram and following that page and liking the Versatile Terrain Facebook page. That's all you've got to do for this one. Nice and easy.
Sounds easy,
yeah. Anyone could do it.
Free
apart
stuff.
from me, sadly.
Or me.
Yeah. Oh, well, we could, but we wouldn't be able to pick ourselves.
I've got 2 Facebook accounts, so could I use the other one?
You could use your partners as well.
Ah.
My wife might all of a sudden be interested in Versatile Terrain, but she's not got an Instagram account though. So again, so for you, those who you don't know, Versatile Terrain offer the chance to name your characters with a quality, personalised 3D printed name with exceptional detail, and at the time had 10 fonts to pick from. They perfectly complement the character and bring your narrative to the tabletop. And you can follow them on Facebook at Build Your Narrative or search Versatile Terrain. And you can also go to www.versatileterrain.co.uk. Talking about our stuff, come join us on the Facebook group. We've got a fairly healthy number now, so welcome to anyone who's joined recently. Again, you can join us on Instagram, where we post some of our cool pictures, some of our stuff, some of the stuff that's on the group. And obviously you're listening to us, so I don't actually need to tell you how to search for us on the podcast app, so I won't talk about that. Lastly, we've just started... I've just managed to fire up a Redbubble account. So if you did I know you've seen a picture of me wearing the Chronicles from the Underhive t-shirt, and I know I wore it at Salute. But if you wanted a mug or anything like that, I'm going to post a link. Well, I have posted a link, but what I'm going to do is also attach it to the pin post with a couple more links to things like Versatile Terrain and Promethean Forge, who've helped us out. So if you want, you're welcome to go and pick on that, and if any money comes to us from those things, it will go straight into the podcast and buy more equipment for when we move to different houses and bits and pieces, because I've now moved to Bedford, which I'll talk about, and I know Aaron's moving too.
Yeah.
So we're going to be moving a bit further apart, so we're going to have to get used to doing it over the computer, so separate microphones will be really helpful. That's it. I think it's actually time for the podcast now, so we will stop this part, and Michael might be able to start so you don't have to hear my voice, and we will be on what we've been up to. Welcome back. What we've been up to. So Michael's going to kick off, and then I'll make something up for Aaron, and then it will be my turn. So Michael, it's up to you.
Righto. It's been a bit of a bitty sort of month for me, really, with Salute. Should we go for what we've purchased and stuff at Salute?
Why not?
Amongst this?
Yeah.
It still kind of counts. As my normal story of financial woe continues, I didn't have a huge amount of spending power at Salute, so I was more just visually shopping. But I did pick up a couple of things. I picked up a small resin mini, like an Austin mini car, which I'll be using for gas lamps.
The actual mini, the car mini.
Proper mini. Yeah,
Mr. Bean
rather than a miniature.
Yeah, rather than a small car.
Yeah. So the idea of this is for when I introduce one of my old friends and his wife and kids to Gaslands. They're not gamers, so what the plan is to try and make it relevant to them. Yeah. So their cars that they have, I shall be representing them on the tabletop. So I've got that one underway.
Focus diesel at the moment.
Yeah. So I've got that. I've got some old sort of Hammer horror type miniatures, like a Frankenstein miniature, an Elvira.
Yeah.
And I think there was another. I can't remember what the third one was for the life of me. Salute was so long ago, you know.
Yeah.
I've been asleep since then. And then the final thing that I bought was the Bounty Hunter that I talked about in the last show. It's the one with the bold head, female model bold head rifle and trench coat. So it's very much a deluxe looking miniature.
The one from that company who do all the deluxe? Or?
Yeah, I can't even remember what that.
I'm going to find it out.
Information will be in the notes, in the show notes.
I will find it this second because I keep that page as just one of my things.
Yeah, they certainly do a good range of stuff.
Heresy Miniatures.
Heresy Miniatures, that's it, well done. Live Googling,
yeah.
That's what we like. Other things I've been doing, I've been continuing my reading progress through my Age of Sigmar stuff. I've been currently waiting for some bases and some new primer. The primer has come there, so that means that I can attempt to finish off my crane project finally, because that's been a bit frustrating with it sat in a box just waiting for the last bit of primer. Then I can do a bit more modelling, finish the priming and then rust it up.
That is sweet. It is an awesome model though.
Yeah, it's just one of them things. It's not going to come out very often, to be fair, because it is so huge. But
ladies.
Yeah. What else have I been up to? I've been enjoying the Games Workshop's Malign Portents short stories they've been releasing. This is to do with Age of Sigmar.
Right.
They're a nice little short story they've been releasing maybe once a week or a couple of times a week. And it's something you can read in like 10 minutes. So it's like it's really sort of short and sharp. It's all about doom and gloom and things going wrong and stuff. So
yeah, I know. I've been skimming through the white. Yeah, I've been just end up skimming through the White Dwarfs and just where's the Necromunda bits and cutting out the pages.
Skip all that out. I've played some Path to Glory games at one of my local clubs, the Basildon War Boys, and that's essentially small scale skirmish version of Age of Sigmar. There's a very similar or exactly the same thing that you can do in 40k.
Okay.
The same, you sort out a warband and then you gradually grow them. That was the good thing about that is that in one evening session at this club we managed to play 5 games because they're really short and quick.
Okay.
So that was quite enlightening, being able to play that fast.
Yeah.
And we weren't really rattling through. We was playing swiftly. Yeah. And we weren't hanging around. But you wouldn't get that many games of Necromunda in an evening.
No.
You might get 2 if one person has a complete disaster on the first game.
Or you roll all the ones like you did last time.
Well, there is that too. What else? I've signed up for a Blood Bowl league.
Hey!
Because I've got so much hobby time.
Yeah. I'm drowning in it.
Oh, no. So I've signed up for that, and I've been reintroducing my wife to playing Blood Bowl, so I've at least got someone at home to play.
What character? Which gang?
My team's the Orcs.
Oh, pizza! I'll be back in a minute.
Pizza pools.
Okay, we've taken our regularly scheduled pizza stop, and we're back.
It does smell.
Sorry, Michael.
It does smell ever so nice.
Yeah, it does.
Good job I've eaten already. So I've signed up for a Blood Bowl league, and I've been playing a couple of games of that. My team is Orcs because I love me some greenskins. My wife's team, being she's a goth, she's gone for an undead necromantic team.
Nice.
So that kind of fits both of us. As for Necromunda, I'm desperate to finish off the 2 games from the box, like the Goliath and the Escher ones. But what I want to do, I want to buy another boxed game, like the whole lot, so that you get both the games in there, and then that gives me the models and stuff that I need to do it. But I just can't find 50 quid at the moment. It's tragic, it really is. And there's so many other nice shiny things out there that keep coming along.
I mean, we're just like, it literally, all the Van Sar stuff dropped like this weekend. It's like, I need to, and we'll go on to that in the next segment.
But the release schedule certainly is just so rapid fire. It's incredible. My finances certainly can't keep up with it. But anyway, moving on. So I'm also, with the Van Sar stuff now, I'm looking forward to seeing the deluxe stuff coming out, because then I've got a game that I could slot my bounty hunter into as well. And it's one of the games that I used to have years ago. And now that I'm arguably better at painting now than what I was then, I think they'll be so easy to paint because of the long trench coats. I think with my simple painting style of just getting that base colour on the material of the trench coat and giving it a wash, it's going to look so much better than what I did when I was 15 or whatever it was.
I reckon what they'll do though is they'll their trench coats will be like some sort of special armour thing which kind of phases and makes it difficult to hit them. And you'll have to do like hexagons on it or something like that.
My one won't be. The ones that you see in White Dwarf might, but mine won't. The other thing I've done, actual hobby-wise, with a brush in my hand, is I painted up a batch of zombies, which are basically going to be used for 3 different systems, really.
Okay.
I want to use them in, this is not a test, which is a post-apocalyptic skirmish game. I want to use them for Necromunda, because I want to create a scenario where you've just got to kill a load of zombies.
Right.
And then thirdly, I can use them in Age of Sigmar if I need to, if I need extra bodies. And then finally, drawing back to the purchases at Salute, the horror models that I've got for the wife, it's trying to think what on earth I can use them for, how I can fit them into a game so they don't just sit in the cabinet and not get used. It's not like I'm an ace painter where I can put something in a cabinet and then that's good enough because, wow, that looks amazing. I want to have something that's painted and then I can use it for something. So I'm thinking of some horror-inspired warband for This Is Not a Test. It doesn't fit the post-apocalyptic scene, but if I can make the rules for a particular warband or faction fit what the models kind of look like or what they sort of do, I'll be happy with that. And then recently, while I was sitting on the toilet, because that's where I have my best ideas,
the epiphany,
or in the bath, I thought that I could use them as coaching staff for Blood Bowl as well. So
for the wives team.
So the extra hangers on for the undead team. And I think realistically that's probably the best way to use them. Because they'll fit in with that.
And they can't be used as the characters in the Blood Bowl. Is there not?
There is a werewolf, but she's already got the werewolf models, and there's a limit on how many you can have in the team. So having an additional one isn't going to help her. The same with things like vampires and stuff. She's already got those. She's already got the Frankenstein model and such. So she doesn't need them on the pitch, but she can have them on the sidelines, and they give you, if you've got them, then they give you benefits in the game. So
that sounds very
I shall let her know that, then I'll get them painted.
Cool.
And she can beat me again.
Oh.
I can't believe we played that one game and I got completely stomped. 2-0 I got stomped and I was trying to win. It was so annoying.
Damn it. Stop fumbling.
I know, it's just awful. Anyway, moving on.
So I'll answer for Aaron then. So what's Aaron been up to this
Nothing,
month?
he's been doing nothing, he's sitting on his backside.
Rubbing baby oil on himself.
Too much.
No, so for me, obviously I've already spoken about moving house. I've finally moved into my house in Bedford. The work is happening in the house, so hopefully the carpet people are coming next week. But this is about freeing up my space in my hobby room. So now all the attic stuff's in the attic, thank God. So now the boxes in the room are pretty much my boxes. So it's now getting to the point where once the carpet's in, I can start getting the furniture in, and then the hobby room can start coming out, and then I can start breaking out the models and they're getting everything in its place.
Losing bits of grey plastic in your carpet.
Yeah, oh God, the carpet's going to be grey. What did I think? I didn't even think about it. Oh no.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, carpet's grey and I've got grey... anyway, I'll just not drop anything ever.
Yeah,
I'm sure
right.
this cigar piece won't ping across the room. So that's getting done. Frustratingly, it means I can't really do any work because I've got to pull like 1,000 boxes and get each bit out. So at the moment, everything's in there and it's making me twitchy. But it should be done soon. And once I've got the Damien station, then it's going to be all guns blazing on the work. What else have I been? I've been to Bedford, and I'm in Bedford. I went last Friday to the Bedford Weir Boys gaming group. Met Jason Barnes there, who's part of that group, wanted to play Necromunda, and also he's part of the Necromunda Mission Kings group. There's a group of them that want to play Necromunda, and he's trying to get up the campaign as well, which is what I'm going to be part of. I like to play games.
Yeah, nice.
I said to him that if you could, if Jason's able to get me to play games, then you and Erin will be impressed because it's pretty hard work to get me to play anything. I did walk in there, and the very first thing I was told was that it was closing down.
You can't go in there with that t-shirt on.
No, it was. No? I wasn't wearing it. I wasn't wearing my t-shirt. I walked in there, and then they were like, "Oh no, this is shutting down." I thought, not on the first day that I get to Bedford are you shutting down the thing. But thankfully, they're just moving back to their old place. So basically, I think where they were trying to take the mickey a little bit, and then hacked up the rent really high.
Yeah.
So then they found somewhere better, and then they've realised that they actually can't find anyone else to fill that time slot. So they've asked them to come back at the reduced rate again. So we're going back to where we were. Thankfully, I thought I'd literally turned up on the first day to be told that it wasn't existing anymore. I was like, this is the reason I've confirmed to move to Bedford, was that I could play somewhere. And then it disappeared. But no, and the whole group were really nice. I think I spoke to everyone there, and they were really welcoming. So thank you everyone there. But in regards to what I've been up to, that's it really, because I've not been able to get the terrain out. I can't get my airbrush out. I can't do anything.
It's
so
like cold turkey, isn't it? Isn't it awful when you've got that itch and you want to do something. You've got the motivation, and you've got the enthusiasm. You've got the ideas.
Yeah.
And you just can't do it.
And it's even worse when I talk about the confirmed news and things that have just come out with the things that have just been released in White Dwarf. I've got a proper twitch on, and the amount of things I want to build, I just can't, and it's really annoying. So we can talk about the salute now, because we've both technically finished what we've been up to. So when I went to salute, I went there as research really. I was planning to get an airbrush, but at the time they've not been released yet, the ones. So I went to see Henry Steele at Carve Paint, and they're going to be releasing their own airbrush brand through Harken and Steinberg, I think is the airbrush company, and it's
sounds like a beer.
Yeah, and it's going for Element Games, but it's not been released yet. But it allowed me. He spent some time with me. He taught me how to take that one apart. It's much easier than my current one, which is just one of the cheap eBay ones you get with the set from the compressor. So that'll be really cool. And I was looking at MDF, like we said, MDF solution things. Element Games, a guy in there is just about to release MDF storage things, which I thought would have been perfect. So he's not released them yet either. So that was just me seeing them and seeing what they were like. There is another company that I've got quite a list of things that I want to I'm ready just to click the button, but I'm waiting for a loan that's coming out this weekend, and then I can actually just go nuts. But so there is 2 different companies that I'm thinking, and until the Element Games one comes out and I can see exactly what they've got, I'm kind of leaning towards the other one. So I don't know yet, but I got from there's a company called Atlantis Miniatures there. I hadn't seen them before, but I'm going to thank someone further along in the episode, because it was one that I'd seen, but when I went there, they weren't selling them. They were selling the dwarfs and the female doors, because it's for my Beth model,
Yeah.
in sets of 10, and they weren't breaking them down because, as all bits things, some of them are really popular and then some never sell, and they were like £40 for the set, and it was just too much for just the one, and I didn't have enough. If I knew what I was going to do with the other ones, then golden, I would have done it, but I just didn't have enough to do with the other 9 models to necessitate it. But once it was once another post was posted on our page, I really wanted the model, so I messaged them directly, and they said that they would sell me one singularly. So I have got the model now, and again, it's something I want to build, but I can't bloody build it because I haven't got the tables and anything. So it's a it's a fantasy miniature, so I need to 40k it up a bit, change some of the weapons, but essentially she's the right body shape, the hair's very similar, the face is very similar, so it's going to be perfect for Beth.
It's actually an interesting idea. I've never thought of this until you was talking about that. Is a lot of the smaller miniatures companies, if they've got quality control type stuff and they open up their moulds and something to be miscast, not necessarily everything on that mould would be scrap. So they'll throw some away. So the chances are they probably have got individual models knocking around.
Yeah. And if it is that the weapon's broken, and it's like, well, I didn't want that weapon.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to you.
And it might be if the arm's broken, well, I'm going to replace that with a bionic bit, so it's fine.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's definitely worth an email to
manufacturers. Worst thing you can get is a no.
Yeah, that's it.
So what else did I get? I got some clear water and bits and pieces from one of the places. It was just hobby bits, so it was more getting my desk ready. So there was paints and bits and pieces. I didn't get a huge load. It was more research purposes than anything else that time. And then after that, we went to the pub. I mean, while I was in there, I bumped into Jason and Skew and, well, Andrew, but I felt really bad because for some reason when I was with Erin, I kept calling him a different name when we were in the pub. And I don't know if it was because I was drunk, because when I left the place, I think I messaged Erin and I said, was I calling Andrew this name? And he was like, yeah, I found it really funny. I was like, I don't even know why I was doing it. I know him. I've known him from the Overlords for ages. I don't know why I was getting his name. I can't even remember what I was calling him that was incorrect, but I knew who he was. So I don't know how. So if you are listening, Andrew, I'm sorry.
It's not I do know your name. Joke, he was calling him Dave.
Yeah, it sadly wasn't Dave. And then I bumped into Matt and Neil from the Adeptus Terra podcast, and met with them in the pub later. And then there was Dr. Andrew was there, and it was Mark from Frost Fiend Studios. He's a painter. He's and he was a part of that group, and so I met them at the pub. Met some guys from the Hate play group in Hackney, isn't it? And saw them there. Who else did I see? It was strange because it was not the table wasn't the Hate group had booked the table,
right? But
it wasn't the same sort of get together as like all the Hate people got together, and that's why they were there. But different groups didn't. I didn't feel that the different groups didn't bomb in like the way they used to. I think because it was in the door closed area,
right,
of the Fox. I don't think everyone joined in like they did before. Whereas when we were more open, everyone just kind of saw someone they knew. That when walked in there, then they all started a conversation, and everyone just moulded in as a big lump.
It was also an exceptionally nice day as well.
I
ended up sitting outside.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for that long, to be honest. Yeah. So we were sitting outside in the sun.
Yeah.
It was a very ungamer-like thing to do.
Yeah.
With our pasty skin.
That's why I had to keep going in and out.
Well, it's too hot.
Yeah, and Erin met me in there, and we were chatting for a bit with the Adeptus Terra guys, and then you were outside.
Yeah.
Who were you outside with?
That was with Keith.
Right. Keith saw us from Versatile Terrain, yeah.
Yeah, so I was chatting with Keith, and then my friend John and his boy.
Mm.
All went round to salute, and the wife, obviously.
Did his tooth fall out? I can't remember. Did he chip his tooth?
His tooth was loose, and we had a big Benny Buster burger thing, and he's got halfway through that, and then his tooth has come out, and claret everywhere.
It's fun. He got really annoyed quite easily. It was quite fun to poke him. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed Still. It was nice to get all the research bits and pieces done.
Yeah.
And so I know technically what I want to buy when I get the money and when the stuff's available. So that was really cool. What did you think of it?
It felt quieter inside. I don't know if that was because I turned up later than what I would normally. Normally, I'd get there, I want to be there for when it opens. Not that I want to rush to go and buy something from a particular stall that's limited edition or something like that.
Yeah.
I hate being late for anything.
Yeah.
It's just where I am. So I'd normally get there early and there'd be thousands of people and you'd all be queuing up and you do the zigzag thing up and down the line and then you get in and then it's just people everywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas this time round, we got there about just after 10 maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe 10:15. By the time we got there, I sat there for a hissy fit and yeah, so we eventually got there. And it felt quieter. Whether that was because we didn't have the queuing up bit beforehand, we literally just showed our ticket and went straight in. So we didn't have that feeling of thousands of people.
No, I think when I was in the queue with Erin, I saw a photo of someone and it looked quite busy, but when we were queuing, it felt like it was only half the amount of the space that was taken up the last time.
Yeah.
But then I know that they were really packing. They did like a four width queue system, and then were pushing everyone forward. So it might have been that they were more efficient with our sandwiching, or it might have been that people were just staggering because in theory, unless you're trying to instantly buy something from like the Wayland Games stall that you know is going to disappear like that, there's no real rush to get there that early because everything's still technically there when you get there or whatever time you get there.
Yeah.
So I think maybe people are just staggering their times a bit more now.
Yeah, I think it could be that. 'Cause it certainly felt that I could get to each of the stalls that I wanted to go and have a look at. There was a few occasionally you'll have someone just milling about in front of a display cabinet and you just stand there and think, just get out of the way so I can have a look, please.
Yeah.
Like, just move a little bit. Or there'll be someone that insists to talking to the vendor and they're doing it right in front of the thing. Think, why don't you step to the side of the counter and have your conversation with them and then other customers can come along and have a look.
Yeah, I know that the only one I struggled and I gave up on was Green Stuff World because they make loads of cool stuff like that using, but I couldn't. It was one of the half tables ones, so it was quite a small one, and then they were really busy because they make some cool stuff, and so I was never going to get to it. So I just thought, I can't be bothered.
No, it's fair enough.
I know I think they've just released the larger cable stuff maker. You know, like the 2 templates you rub. I love that thing, but you can only make a cable so long, whereas they just released a slightly larger one.
I saw someone, I don't know whether it was in one of the 40k groups or whether it was in a Necromunda one, there was someone using guitar strings.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's just such a good idea.
I've got guitar string as well, but I've just found it, I find once I've rolled the cable out and it's dried enough to be able to move but not squash under my fingers, I find it a lot more controllable because the guitar string wants to change its shape.
Does it always want to spring straight again? Or can you bend
kind
it?
Of, and then it ends up, you don't get the curve you want. It's kind of, I find it folds on itself. And also spraying, like getting the paint on it, I find that's quite difficult. So then if you overspray that, then you might end up overspraying the model unless you do it separately, but then you kind of have to glue the 2 ends of the guitar string to keep it into shape, so then it's attached to the model, which means that it's very hard to then paint it and keep enough paint on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never tried it, I just saw it and it looked, for what the guy was doing.
Other people find it easy, but it's just, I struggle with it, whereas I'm fine with the Green Stuff maker, but then some other people will find, and it makes sense because you can have that any length then.
Yeah.
But it might also have been the guitar string that I was using that it was too thin. I don't know, but
they probably make them out of different materials, and some of them take the paint better than others. Perhaps. I don't know anything about guitars, although I'm sitting here looking at 2.
Yeah. My father-in-law has lots of musical instruments in this room.
Else things that salute. I enjoyed looking at all the tables and stuff that people had set up, all the scenery and a bit. The amount of effort some people go in for game systems that I've got no interest in. Like the historical games. Don't do anything for me at all.
No, I'm not.
But
at that point.
the amount that I totally appreciate that people are passionate about, it's their hobby. They can do whatever they like, so that's fine. There's no interest to me, but some of the tables they've put out is incredible.
The Darksphere one was cool as well, in the tent.
Yeah,
the
Necromunda one, yeah.
A slight chance of electric shock, but because it was essentially it was Games Workshop tiles and bits, 3D terrain, but they'd run tubes, like water tubes and bits and pieces, so there's glowing and bubbles and bits and pieces. But some of them were leaking ever so slightly. So leaking water next to electricity isn't a great mix, but I don't think...
the general public.
And technically, it did work in regards to hazardous terrain and bits and pieces, and it made it very Necromundery, but it wasn't potentially safe.
And the only trouble is, it's nice to do these features with lighting and everything else for photo opportunities. But realistically, you're not going to use it in game because they had it displayed in a sealed tent, if you like, to black it out so that all you could see was the bit of terrain in the lighting, which is great. But you don't get to play like that.
I mean, it was. I think I've worked in places where they have sensory rooms and such like, and you can still get a good old feel of it with the lights. But in the end, I think they were planning to play games on it, but because everyone just stared at it and wanted to look at it, they never bothered. They just saw it as a thing to see. It was cool.
Yeah.
And it gives me an idea of nicking some of my daughter's stuff, because she's got a lava lamp with a little with a thing like a magnet that spins a fan and gets it all going. So I might have to try and work out how to remove all the glitter from it, and then would glitter work? Maybe. I think we keep segueing off. So what we've been up to is done, I think. So next we will go on to the confirmed news and what has literally just come out. So, maybe when it's released might be what just came out maybe a week ago. But yeah, we'll get into it now. Couple of slices of pizza in, and we're up to confirmed news. And what's just come out. So it kind of dropped very recently, just this weekend.
Yeah.
So we got Gang War 3. I haven't got that yet, but I will have it obviously by the next podcast, because we're going to go nuts deep into it then.
Well, we'll be talking about the Van Saar next time around, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. And I do also, because I'm twitching like a twitchy thing, in that next one I want to talk about the Bounty Hunter game that you can make from the new White Dwarf.
I think I'm probably going to be quite enthusiastic about that as well, because I think I mentioned in the last show, I wasn't that struck on the Bounty Hunters because of like the cost of including them in your game for a short period of time and blah 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 blah. But if there's a gang specifically for you to craft a bunch of bounty hunters, then I think I'll be more enthusiastic about that.
And it just looks really customizable with all of I know definitely a leader where they have different characteristic levels as well. So it's like, I want that one to be a bruiser, like a slow lumbering lump. So that's going to have that profile, and you can then, each one doesn't have their individual skill tree, but you have a general one, so you can pick two primaries and a secondary as to the theme of your gang.
Yeah.
So it's not mega perfect, but it's the weapons. Oh, I can't wait. Well, I won't go into it now, but so I'm really looking forward to having a real go at the bounty hunters. I've got loads of models ready already for it, but I will have to hold fire until I can actually.
So with Gang War 3, this is also me having not bought it yet. We're getting that in a couple of weeks. So Gang War 3 has got the Van Saar list in it, and it's got what else? More bounty hunter stuff?
I think it has the brutes.
Right, okay.
And I know it has that, I'm pretty sure it has that big robot thing in it. My brain's not working.
That's because you only had 2 pieces of pizza.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have a little Google now. So you're going to have to fill.
No, that's
maybe
right.
with a bit of sexy dancing or something.
So the other thing that we've seen is the cyber dog.
Everyone
Everyone likes a cyber dog. And the other good thing is, I noticed that I think it's Wild West Exodus. They've also got some cyber dogs as well.
Oh, I saw them at Salute. Yeah. I was
So
tempted
once
to
I
buy
digest the rules for these and work out whether lots of gangs can have cyber dogs, I can see a lot of four-legged friends appearing in various gangs.
Yes, that was what was in Gang War 3. Jason. No, he didn't. I won't say that. I was able to see a magazine, Gang War 3. It was definitely after the date it was released.
Most definitely. And it was definitely paper.
And it had the pets and the cherub and that stuff in it. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of that too.
That's just leapt into my head when you're talking about the pets.
So I'm definitely interested in that side of things because I think they would just be fun. And I can only assume that they're fairly rapid at moving around. They might not be quite so good at climbing, perhaps, if they're dog-like rather than monkey-like.
They can jump.
But, yeah.
And they have the trading posters now got the points values for it now.
Okay.
So, I having a glance, it looked like a lot. It looked like they'd put a lot of work into it. It looked like a properly thought out piece. So now you can build the bounty hunters and all of the guns are there with the rarities and the points, so the credit costs. So you can just go straight in that book and do the bits you need to. So it looked pretty cool from what I read. I'm looking forward to buying that one.
I do wonder how many of these Gang War books there's going to be now. We're assuming that there's going to be one for each of the major houses.
Yeah.
But I would have thought they might stop at that and then go for because they've been releasing stuff in the White Dwarf quite regularly. Like you look at the Doomsday Cult, the Chaos Cult. So could some of the other fringe ones not also be released like that?
Either that or the Gang War might be like Gang War. On my break, and I've just brought up a bit of Coke and garlic bread. It could be the Outlanders one. It might be that, or that might end up being a box set.
Yeah.
Coming up to Christmas, or I'm not sure. It honestly depends on how they want to go through it, but then that could hold all the scalies and all of the different pieces from there.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're definitely all sorted up until Christmas.
So I know there's been some resistance out in the internets with the way it feels like it's being drip fed, where you sort of you're getting teased with one book and then you kind of half forced into getting another book and then you're half forced into getting another one. But I don't mind that so much. The only thing that frustrates me is just not being able to get the damn things.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it would be cool if you kind of got into it a year later. It's
yeah,
like,
I think,
what's this Necromunda? Oh, all the stuff's out.
Yeah, almost like they need to, if they could have it as a bundle, one-click bundle, and you think that would be fantastic if you could just go, right, day one, oh yeah, I want to get into Necromunda, right, 150 quid, yeah, okay, sign me up. Click the button, and then you get all the books, the box set, and a box of miniatures and some dice and whatever.
But I think we're getting to the point now with the updated trading posts and bits and pieces where you don't have to really buy the Gang War book if you don't want Van Saar and you didn't really want to use the pets or the brutes, you don't really have to buy this one.
No.
And I think with the next one as well, it's getting to the point now where there's enough of the rules already out and enough trading post stuff out and bits and pieces where you don't necessarily, unless you want to buy that gang, you don't have to buy Gang War 3 now. And I think that might be the same with 4 and 5. Because if the trading post is pretty solid now, apart from maybe occasionally a couple of things, then you could just get that page. You wouldn't necessarily need the whole book each time anymore unless you want that gang.
That sort of leads on to another, I know this is supposed to be our confirmed news section rather than a rumours thing. Yeah. I did read something from somewhere, as they say vaguely, about future releases for Necromunda now are going to be online purchases only,
okay,
rather than being in the store.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense once all the six. Once all the 6 games are out, because
it takes up shelf space.
Also, I think all the rest of it will end up being. Are the resin the bounty hunters the 3-pack? I think they are, aren't they?
I would assume they would be coming from Forge World.
And I think that's probably what that would be then, is that where Games Workshop and stuff are working to get the plastics done. After that, everything's a bit resiny, so it's all going to be Forge World stuff. So I don't.
What about the arm sprues? Have you seen any of the arm sprues yet? Like the Escher ones, or?
I haven't seen them.
Are they plastic or are they resin?
I think they're resin.
Okay.
And I think that's the same with like how Blood Bowl was. I think you can buy the plastic guys when they first came out, but if you wanted a
there was some gang specific, team specific
stuff as
bits and pieces, like bits of armour and
they were resin, and that was Forge World.
Okay.
So I think it's probably just the way that they release through Games Workshop, and then it becomes more, I suppose, like when the forges come out, like the Promethean Forge and all of that sort. There you go. There's a advert name drop at the same time. And the Corpse Guild and stuff. Then it would be that they would probably end up being resin and stuff.
Okay, yeah, it'd be interesting, because it doesn't bother me. I suppose we're lucky in this regard in this country, because Games Workshop is kind of from here, and we have got an abundance of Games Workshop stores smattered around the country. So for me, I generally would like to buy from a third-party retailer, because I feel that I get a good deal with the 20%, 25%, whatever it might be, off.
Yeah.
But then you factor in your postage, then you factor in the fact that they might not get the stuff exactly when they say they're going to get it.
That can
they
be
might
an
not
issue.
send it out quite as quickly as what you'd like.
Yeah.
And I'm now starting to drift back to saying, okay, well actually I'll stomach paying the extra £4. I'll get it from Games Workshop, and I'll, rather than paying postage, I'll have it delivered to my local store.
Yeah.
And I'll just pop down there when I can.
Yeah, because I mean I've got Games Workshop about 10 minutes away now, but driving. I think if I can find a place in Bedford where I can just park up and not have to muck about with multi-stories, then it's going to make my life easier. But
the only thing that irks me a little bit is that the way Forge World operate is that you only ever deal with Forge World directly, rather than ordering Forge World stuff and having that delivered to your local Games Workshop. They won't do that.
I don't generally get much Forge World stuff.
No, I've only ever got one Forge World model, or maybe 2 now. So it doesn't affect me massively, but it's just the convenience. It's so easy to click that button on the Games Workshop site, and then on the following Sunday or whatever, I'll go and meet my sister in my local town, have coffee or whatever in the morning, and then after we've said our goodbyes after the coffee, I'll walk into the Games Workshop, pick up my little bag of swag, and then I can go home.
That's not
hobby.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I'll have to cross that bridge when I come to it, I think. I think, well, like I say, a lot of my games are all customised bits anyway from Games Workshop, so unless I buy the specific bits, which I generally don't do, I'll probably end up converting all my stuff from plastic anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Oh, I know that Warhammer Fest is this weekend, which will probably be past the point that you listen to this episode, so people would have already just come back from Warhammer Fest. Yeah, so you might get to see some cool like little sneak peeks and stuff. So, sorry we haven't been able to discuss that today, but this is the past.
Yeah, history.
And you're the future. Yeah,
we're making
I need
history.
Thanos' glove, and I could just go back in time. So by this point, Infinity War has been released, and I won't spoil it in case any of you have not watched it yet. So waffling on, so the confirmed news, that's about it really. I hope Warhammer Fest is good, and I'll be watching the on Facebook to see any cool new bits that are coming out, and I'm sure they'll be posted on our page.
Yeah.
So we are actually at the point of talking about the hangers on. So after the break, thankfully Michael will do the reading. It's not a large amount, but we're back with hangers on. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back to the showcase for Hangers On. We've got a Chaos one coming up, but we're going for the Hangers On first. So, thankfully, Michael's again doing the reading. So, but it's not a huge amount, so we should be okay.
Yeah, you should be able to stay awake.
I've just realised I forgot to muck about with the text to get Michael to read something inappropriate halfway through. Damn it! But now Michael's reading it again just to make sure.
I'm reading ahead. It's all right.
Okay.
So here we go. So once a hanger-on has established itself, its hideout can become as well known as any other local landmarks. Some local gangs' hideouts become centres of activity, with loyal hivers granted the freedom to come and go as they please, while others are more like a fortress. In either case, they are sought over destinations for merchants and tradesmen seeking a reliable base of operations and offering their services to the gang.
So it's not too big a...
No, so from a hobby perspective, I'm sure you've seen the people doing, I can't remember the guy's name, who's done like the little gun shop and stuff using the Mechanicus crates and containers.
Yeah, they were
stuff.
Awesome.
So that kind of makes a bit of sense. So right, that's where my ammo jack comes from. That's his little base of operations within my territory.
Yeah.
And there it is represented on the tabletop.
Oh, now I want to do it for all of them. I want a medical.
You've got to have a little surgery, yeah.
Oh.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
With just like pools of blood just dripping out of it.
Of course. That'd be just so easy to do.
I'll have to do something else. No. Okay.
So while Tom's chewing,
I hope you can hear it.
That's all right. Slurp, slurp. We can waffle on a little bit about how they're actually intended to be used in the games. But there's a little section in the book that tells you that they can be used in skirmish games.
Yeah.
But ideally, they're intent for campaigns.
Yeah.
Because they're giving your gangs little buffs, mostly post game.
Yeah.
It's only really the ammo jacks that give you a benefit within or during the game.
Yeah, and I think it was more for, I think they've written about it being for like a thematic thing, that if you are attacking their base, then they might be around and you might accidentally end up having to use one of them instead of one of your gangs. But yeah, everything else, it doesn't really make huge amounts of sense.
Yeah, they effectively take up the spell, potentially can take up the space of one of your gangers.
Yeah, and they're not particularly good at fighting, scenario, so you'd be stuffed.
And like you say, they're not built for combat.
No.
So yeah, you purchase them and equip them the same way as you would a fighter. So you're paying for them. But you are limited on how many you can have, and that's kind of based off of your reputation. So there's different thresholds for what your reputation score is, and that then limits or restricts how many hangers-on you're allowed to have. And if your reputation goes down below them thresholds for any reason, then potentially you have to dump the hangers-on or some of the hangers-on because it's in the fluff side of or the narrative side of things. They've just become disillusioned with the gang and they've decided to go and seek their fortune somewhere else. So I quite like that idea. The only trouble I personally see is that because I don't play that often and seeing the games that I did play in the campaign that I ran initially, reputation didn't change that much.
Right.
I struggled to get a massive increase in that.
Okay.
So I could see it taking quite a while before you can get a meaningful number of these hangers-on in the game.
I mean, once you've run a campaign, if your gang is reasonably not destroyed, I don't see why you wouldn't then ask if that can be carried. Because in theory, if you've got a fairly good gang now and a high reputation, then there's benefits for the weaker gangs going for and they become the defenders a lot in bits and pieces. So it might be that your campaign starts where one of the gang people that join the gang is probably a bit higher, but it's not the end of the world because you get the benefits and they're constantly there trying to defend when all these other gangs are trying to attack them. So it might give different challenge.
Yeah, I think that can still work, and it's also I think the way the gang war is designed is that you run for your certain period of time, so in theory all of your gangs that are playing in that campaign get the opportunity of levelling up and whatever, and you get your winner. But then at the end of it all, when you kind of do a little bit of a reset and then you get ready to go again, in theory that's the point where other new fresh players can jump in.
Yeah.
But the people that have already played can still use their original games that they had before. So you're going to use and keep all the benefits that you've accumulated. So you will be starting at those higher levels.
And I think that eventually they'll probably start. I know I was going to go and do something, but I realised I actually need to be near the microphone. I know they're going to release those big boss leaders at some point with slightly bigger gangs. So at some point, the gangs are going to beef up a little bit anyway. So it might be that the hangers-on become a bit easier, and that if there are beefier gangs, that there will be more of an opportunity to get more hangers-on and bits and pieces as well.
But certainly from a hobby perspective, I certainly do like the idea of these additional models that aren't necessarily combatants, but they're there for a purpose. It's the same with Blood Bowl, what I mentioned earlier, is that you can have a number of models that aren't on the pitch, that don't play the game, but they represent you getting a benefit.
Yeah.
Whereas these ones are actually on the field of play, and then because they're there, they give you that benefit.
Yeah. I mean, let's go through the different ones. So we got 4. So we got the Dome Runner. So the rules for the Dome Runner is when your gang with a Dome Runner gains or steals turf, you add +1 to see if it's a special territory. And also when you roll a d66 for the special territory, you can flip the dice. So 36 would become 63 or whatever, which is quite cool. The
only issues, I might as well chip in as we go through the list rather than keep going back to them. With that one, so that relies on you winning a game, which for me is clearly an issue. So for that, in that respect, they're not at the top of my list for ones to have. But I think they're cool to represent like a scouting individual that then gives you that benefit of turf acquisition.
From what I remember, that he is one of the cheaper ones as well. So his rules won't be necessarily the best because he's not the most expensive. He is...
Dun, dun, dun.
I believe he is quite cheap. Because the first 2 are 50. The Dome Runner is 20 creds. So it's, do you pay 20 creds every time for the potential to get a decent piece of territory? Might be worth it. The next one is the Ammo Jack. He's 50 credits. So re-roll failed ammo rolls of a natural 1. If another Ammo Jack is used, it will then become a 1 or a 2.
Yep. So you can have up to 3 of those potentially in your game. So then you're getting rolls on a 1, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Which means those particularly unreliable weapons suddenly become
incredibly reliable.
Yeah, much more reliable. And it's not just a one use item. No. Effectively, it's every time you do an ammo roll.
Yeah.
So I think they're particularly good value. And I think their stat line's actually quite good as well. Like their ballistic skill, and you can give them a decent gun.
3+, toughness and the strength 3 and wounds.
You give either a bolt gun or like a bolter or a combat shotgun, and they're not shy of a bit of shooting.
It doesn't say whether to add the points of the weapon. Is
something I was going to mention. It's just not clear whether the equipment's included. I suspect that it's not.
No.
Because the cost of the model, I think combat shotgun on its own is generally about 60 points.
Yeah.
So you can't assume that a 50-point model is going to get one of those for free and then potentially have a power hammer.
Yeah.
But
or power sword.
But the way it's worded, where they're specifically listing equipment, then makes you think. Well, say you've got a leader for your gang, and it says your leader is equipped with mesh armour and has got no other restrictions.
Yeah.
You wouldn't pay for the mesh armour generally.
But I understand, and what I'm thinking is that bounty hunters were the opposite way round, and they said that it could be equipped with, and people just assumed. Well, there was a bit of an argument as to whether that meant you had to pay or not, and I think they realised that you do actually have to pay. I think the reason that these guys might not have to pay for their weapons is because you've got an incredibly small chance of using those weapons. Because you're very unlikely to have to be... Because unless someone's attacking you, and then you pick a roll a 1, 2 or 3 and have that card as one of the options, he's incredibly unlikely to actually take part in the game. So would you
invest that amount of points
you would
in a model
you would have an unarmed ammo jack all the time and be very unlikely to use him. So I think that might be why, because there's a slim chance of him actually ever playing. So why would you? I think then you'd be like, well, I'm not buying an ammo jack to then buy a combat shotgun, because for 110 points I may never end up using the guy. That might be the reason why it comes with it. I was just thinking.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think that's the only. But you're right. The way it's written, they're equipped with it, and it's whether they're equipped with it in the same way the bounty hunters were, where they had to pay, or are they equipped with it in the fact that they are equipped with it like mesh armor would be, where you come with it. And I think it might be just because you don't use them very often. You're unlikely.
Draw another parallel. When 8th edition 40k came out, not that you've subscribed to that. It basically listed the equipment for your models, and there was a points cost for the model, and then a points cost for each of the bits of equipment.
Yeah.
Some of the standard equipment was classified as 0 points, so it's a moot point. The fact that that Space Marine comes with a bolt gun, it's free, so it doesn't actually change the points cost.
Yeah.
But they've made that clarification that you pay for the model, and then you pay for every single item of war gear. So I wonder whether there is something just within regular Necromunda gangers and stuff, where stuff that's written down and included, you still should be paying points for.
That's something that we're going to have to work out on.
That might come to light at some point in the future.
Yeah. I've also noticed that they have a skill as well. So he has Mutiner, and that things like the Rogue Doc has one too. And I think that's for if they do end up having to. See, the Slopper doesn't have one. Domeron has Lie Low. So if they are forced to have to play, they actually have a skill.
Yeah, they've got something that's thematic to what they're meant to represent.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So we've pretty much asked more questions than we've answered.
I know, it's good, isn't it? That's because we don't know anything.
That's it.
We know what you know.
Yeah. So the Slopper is next. At the end of the spend experience step, roll a d6 for a fighter in recovery. On a 6, that member moves from recovery to cleared to fight. So that will mean that they don't miss a game trying to get better in bits and pieces. So they've fed them so much stuff that they've been able to perk themselves up and get back in the fight.
I had a bit of an epiphany with the Slopper. Is for some reason I had it in my mind that a Slopper was someone that just went around shoveling all the muck from the sump of the hive and everything else, and then it suddenly dawned on me, no, they're the chef. They're the cook for the game. I don't know why I got myself confused over that. It just suddenly think the other people that are sorting out the food and feeding the game.
It out, nutrient paste.
Yeah, it was just bizarre.
So, I mean, again, I don't know, because I've only been playing skirmish games, I don't know how helpful that is in regards to how clutch that will come in most games. I guess
it's a bit desperation, because it's only a 1 in 6 chance of it actually doing what you've included him to do.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's 20 points, and it might mean that you've got a bit of an extra chance of them getting in to the next battle, because the amount of times I've seen where people have been writing about their games and they've got 3 people still on the bed that can't. They've got like 3 people to fight the next game. If you could get a couple of 6s out of that and get some people in a bit quicker, it might be worth the 20 points.
One Slopper can use that ability on multiple models, or
at the end of this spend experience there from the pre-battle, roll a d6 for each gang fighter in recovery.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So if you have had a particularly bad game and your gang of 12 has had 6 people put into recovery, then potentially you've got a good chance of getting at least one of them back.
Yeah. And for 20 points,
that's
not too bad. So next is the Rogue.
Rogue Doc.
Rogue Doc. So Rogue Doc. allows you to make an additional medical escort action in the post-battle sequence. If the roll is a 6, they are treated as stabilised rather than full recovery. I think that I've written that backwards.
Yeah, I think you have. You got
So,
that right. You got that right.
Yeah. So they've gone from being stabilised and then made a full and they've made a full recovery. So it's kind of a bit like the slopper, but yeah. So rather than being stabilised, they've made a.
But it also makes it cheaper as well because it doesn't cost quite as much. I don't think you pay to have the like the healthcare portion of it.
That's right.
But you don't make the full recovery like you would if you paid a proper doctor to do the work. Then if your guy recovered, then he recovers properly. But with this one, you don't pay the cost, but you get like a kind of a partial recovery.
Yes, so I did write it. Yeah, I did write it right then. So this does not cost any credits. However, it's okay, got you. So when you're rolling, so it doesn't cost any money to ever get them fixed.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a 6 doesn't count as a full recovery because they can never kind of get them well enough
never
to
get perfect.
So so you can stabilise people so they're less likely to die.
Yeah.
But you can't turn them around like that. But it doesn't cost any money. You just road doc's there. He can keep them going, sort of thing.
And I think it's one of those additional hangers on that would really benefit a gang once it's developed, because you get to the point where you've got key members of your gangs that have got lots of experience, they've got lots of skills and everything else, and it's almost becomes critical that they're available for your next games and stuff. So the more opportunities you've got of healing and getting models back on the table faster, it's worth every penny or every credit you can spend on that.
Yeah, and if you've had a bad game and you've got no credits left to take them to the hospital and you just need them to survive until you can get enough to take them to the proper place, then just keep them going, just keep swapping the blood over and keep them going, and just hopefully they'll stay alive.
So I think for me, in order of what I see as the most benefit, is the ammo jack I see as a sort of an auto take for me, because I really struggle with having the benefits post game.
Right.
I just got in my mind that I want to have the benefit now.
Yeah.
I want to be able to use it for real. And the amount, every time you shoot something, you roll that ammo check or ammo dice. So there's always that chance that you're going to mess it up.
Especially with that rapid fire weapon and stuff.
So I think the ammo jack for me is the first one that you probably want to get. Then I'd be looking at probably the rogue doc, the dome runner, and then the slopper last.
Okay.
Maybe that's probably the way I'd approach it, because you can only have so many.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether I'd go for multiples before I then step on to the next. Like whether I went for 2 ammo jacks before I went to doc. But
and I guess it would depend on the type of army you run. So with my Goliaths, with them being so close quarters where I wouldn't fire many weapons, I might not go for an ammo jack, but any other army, especially something like an Orlock where you've got rapid fire weapons coming at your bum, then I'd want it because because you'd be rolling more. I know you still roll a 1 ammo dice, don't you?
Yeah.
So, but it's the more guns you have, then the more chance you have of. So, if you're going hand to hand, then maybe an ammo jack might not be needed. But if you've got lots of shots.
It still depends on whether you're relying on pistols as well in combat, because you're still going to be rolling your ammo checks for those every time.
Yeah, I guess the ammo jack does sound like it's probably the best.
Yeah.
But
it's just the
one of the most
benefit.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do struggle with the seeing the future sort of thing. I guess it's because I played so much skirmish and not enough campaign to not know how important those other games are.
Yeah, it's like some of the skill trees. What's the one? Is it Savant?
Yeah.
That one is, most of those are predominantly post-game benefits rather than in-game.
I struggle with it.
and it just feels like you're not getting anything, but that's a sidetrack. So for models to represent these, in my mind, an ammo jack should be some tooled up sort of weaponsmith or maybe a servitor type model that is good with machinery and so forth. because they're supposed to be maintaining your equipment and whatever else. So,
I mean, I was thinking of like any sort of old blacksmith model that there might be. Make sure, like, so I've went. One of the things I went and got was I went to Zinj Industries and got the flexible ammo belts and bits and pieces. So someone that's just hauling around lots of ammo, because they don't have to look competent. They could just be someone who's been made to carry all the ammo around on their backs and bits and pieces.
yeah.
I remember some of the Gretchen models carrying ammo boxes and bits and pieces.
Yeah, the Gretchen
So
box set is pretty good for that.
So I know that with your Goliath/Orc models, that might have been.
Yeah, they'd certainly fit in with that.
And yeah, and like I say, the Zinj Industries ammo, but there's, I think it's about just rummaging around the bits and then finding all of the ammo cases and bits and pieces that you can get. I know that the Space Marines have like a clip that you can cut out, and there's the Space Marine that the Stone Guard have special issue ammunition and bits and like ammo belts, and I think it'll be quite easy just to get a guy or a girl who has their arms quite low and has to be dragging all these weapons along. It depends if you want it as a sort of, are they a slave having to drag the ammo around, or are they a competent blacksmith or armourer who's deliberately building these weapons? So it depends on what way you want to go with it. Is it someone like a jokey sort of having to do all the weapon lugging, or is it someone who's competently making the bullets?
Yeah, and with that respect, I've located 3 possible options, plus a converting fourth. So I'm going to show Tom some pictures, and then we'll put these links to these pictures on the website or on the Facebook group when we publish this podcast. So this one is from CP Models, and it's basically a mechanic.
Yeah.
He's got his sort of dungarees, his denim dungarees or overalls. So he doesn't look 40k. That's the one thing about it.
That's the best thing.
It wouldn't take too much.
No.
To make it a bit more sci-fi. So he's representing the mender maker type person, and that may well suffice. Next up, from Raging Heroes, you've got that model there, which is from character set 1, from The Toughest Girls in the Galaxy.
Irina Vega.
Yeah, okay. And she's holding in one hand like a tablet computer type thing. So she looks quite techy for what she's doing. It's a female model. I would change the head on it to, if you're going to slot that into an Escher gang, to try and to get the punk hairdo.
That's right,
type side of things, because she's currently got a cap on. I don't know if these models are available individually because they're sold in a box set. But that's neither here nor there. And then finally, an obvious 40k choice, which is going to be
the weapons.
It's going to be Games Workshop legal, so you could use it in a store if you wanted to. This is another consideration for some people. It's a good old trusty Chikero.
Yeah, Mr. Orangutan.
Yeah. So I do wonder whether it seems like it's a role suited to that particular model.
I mean, I know that. I mean, that is a pretty cool one. I've just realised that one of my models that I've already built I could use as an ammo jack. Because my one is a mix of Scutari.
Yeah, that was another. That was my converting side of things. I saw someone that had made a servitor model using the tracks off the Taurox.
I've got that as one of my things to talk about later. I will get to it later because it's on one of my pieces of paper. But
and I can't remember what the actual miniature is that he's put at the front of it for the actual servitor's body. But if you was to do the same thing with those tracks and then use some Scutari bits and stuff, then you could definitely have that as an ammo jack.
Yeah.
And you could even do it like a little pickup truck on top put a little bed on top of the tracks, and that could have ammo crates and things like that in it. That he's sort of driving himself around, following the guys about.
Yeah, so this was part Gene Steeler cult model, part Mechanicus Ruststalker head and servo skull and a mining laser from the Gene Stealer cult. But it is honestly, some of the Scutari stuff makes really great bits.
Yeah.
Some really cool like gas masks and dome heads, and especially with like the ammo jack, it's the sort of stuff
It's
that
kind
been
of made
covered
for it,
in.
isn't
Yeah.
it? Okay, so I think that's kind of covered some different examples of that. And like I say,
Yeah.
we'll put the pictures that I've got. I've saved them, so we'll put those out when we release the podcast, and then hopefully you can follow along.
Oh, sorry, I just thought you burped.
I did belch on mic. It's so professional.
What about the Dome Runner?
Dome Runner. This was the one that I really struggled with. My vision is a little bit different to Tom's vision. I see the Dome Runner more as a wheeling dealing spiv type character, where they're the one kind of brokering between rival gangs to settle a dispute.
Okay.
So you've had your battle and your bit of a set to with the rival gang, and now you're trying to come to terms with, like, you've both gone, right, enough's enough, let's just sort this. And then your Dome Runner kind of comes in, mediates between the two, and then takes one bit of turf from one, gives it to the other.
I wonder if there's a Del Boy model.
Yeah, that's kind of
28mm Del Boy model.
With a donkey jacket and everything.
You could buy the Robin Reliant model.
Well,
as
that's
well.
a land speeder, surely.
Gaslands. Yeah, true.
Land speeder and a couple of wheels.
Yeah, and it's just hanging off the edge.
I'm doing it.
Hanging down at the sides. Yeah, because I was thinking of the Dome Runner more of like a rat skin model, or like the child character from Mad Max.
Yeah.
Someone who is hunting, like knows,
scampering around and finding all those hidden places,
and knows little areas that other people don't go down, and go through tunnels that other people don't know about.
Yeah.
And they just point stuff out, and if they do well, they get food and bits and pieces, and they just hang around because it's the best way to stay alive, is hang around with this gang and just point out what they know, sort of thing. So, but that's the benefit of it, I guess, is what have you got in your head, and then making it, and it being different to everyone else.
Until Games Workshop come out and show you what they envisage for it as the official, quote-unquote, official model, you can basically do what you want. It's however you interpret those few words that they've given you for inspiration, and just go mad.
Well, I know with my Mad Max Goliaths, I want to make the little Mad Max guy for the Dome Runner. There's a rogue doc in there who was the one who was supporting the baby when it was getting born, even though it passed away in Fury Road.
Right, yeah.
One of the ones had a baby. I'm mixing my Mad Maxes up. And then I know I want to try and make a bounty hunter using the Escher models and making it look like Furiosa. So I still need to do more to my Goliath gang. Even though I probably again won't run half the stuff, I just want to make it.
Yeah.
And I've still got Escher model stuff kicking about, because I only used I think 2 or 3 of them for my Escher gang, because it was all my old models. So that so again, just talking about bits that I'm going to build when I finally get my room together. What about Mr. Sloppy?
Right, Mr. Sloppy. So after my epiphany of realising that's the cook, we've got a couple of models.
Waste management character.
There's a couple of models from the Walsung skirmish game. It's the cook and kitchen boy. So I think they come as a set. Once again, they're not 40k based, but I'm sure you can wangle it.
I'm going to 40k that.
So you've got one guy that looks a bit like the Swedish chef off the Muppets.
Yeah.
And he's got the proper bouffant chef hat.
He also looks like, if you put a pig mask on him, he'd look like the pig from the Batman series.
Yeah,
the
that
big
kind
guy.
of work. And the thing I like particularly about him is the pose that he's got. His arms or his hands are away from his body, so that if you wanted to take the cleaver out of his hand, you could replace that with a pistol or whatever the weapon option is that the slopper's allowed to have. And in his other hand, he's holding a carrot, so you could quite easily cut that hand off and put something else in that.
Dynamite.
The kitchen assistant boy is a little bit difficult because he's got a giant frying pan slung over his shoulder. But
That's
Even
a cool model.
it's
I might
still
do
fits
that for
the theme.
mine.
So, like I say, I'll be posting those on the page. What else did I have for my options? So we've got this one here this is from Black Scorpion Miniatures, and he's simply called Chef.
Okay. It's still very cool.
Yeah, I think the trouble with what I was searching for looking for cooks or chefs or that type of thing, is there's not very much in the sci-fi genre. It's all very much fantasy.
Yeah, because I was thinking of all the halfling stuff from Blood Bowl and stuff.
Yeah,
that's all orientated with food and bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's the only sort of chefy things you get. I didn't really find a lot that was sci-fi. So you are going to be looking at converting stuff.
Yeah. Well, what a shame. I hate converting.
What a blow that is. Rogue Docs, how are we going for that?
Yeah, let's Rogue Dock it up.
Righto, you might like this one. This one looks particularly menacing. So this one here is from CP Models again.
Oh, Christ.
This one's called Abraham. He's not intended as a doctor model, but he's a big bruiser guy with a skinhead, and he's got a big long trench coat type thing on. But I think you could paint that up as a white medical lab coat, and I think that would look...
Yeah, it's a sinister looking doctor.
Yeah, you don't want to be going at him twice.
What you just need to do is green stuff one of those round reflecting things that they have on their heads.
And that would be perfect. Put a stethoscope around his neck.
Yeah.
And then he's good to go. So that's that guy. Then slightly more medically looking, perhaps, from the same company, so that's CP Models.
Okay.
And this is Professor Wigglesworth. And he's a little old man, sweet as you like. And once again, he's got a big long coat on, which you can paint in medical whites.
Yeah.
Or even that green, that surgical green sort of colour. So that could kind of work. He's sculpting wise, his hands are clasped to his belly, clutching his little medical bag or whatever it might be. So you're not going to be able to add weapons short of putting a holster on him, on his hip or something, to say he's got a pistol. And then if you're going for GW legal stuff, from the Horus Heresy stuff from Forge World, you've got the Solar Auxilia, Surgeons and Aids. So there's a couple of models that are in kind of power armour, so you probably discount those. But there is like one or two.
The main guy carrying
the guy at the back
needle for a start.
The picture.
Yeah.
He looks like he could certainly slot into a Necromunda scene.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
And it's GW legal if you're going to be worrying about playing in GW events or stores. What we got? This one is a particularly gruesomely painted guy. This is, I'm not sure on the miniature range, but it's RAFM, Call of Cthulhu. So that, I think that's the range and system. And he's simply called Mad Doc.
Yeah.
So he's got his surgical apron on. It's all covered with blood and stuff. He looks like pretty sinister.
Yeah.
And he's carrying a blade.
Yeah.
So what more do you want from a slightly dodgy backstreet doctor? There's one more I need to find, and it is by far the prettiest because it's a girl and she's lovely. And here she is. So this is Toughest Girls in the Galaxy again.
Oh yes, I know this model.
So this is the one that's got the nurse's hat on. This one is from the Jailbirds set, and her name is Mad Nurse Bernadette.
Yeah,
so
it's a cool model.
Slotting her into an Escher gang would be a doddle.
Yes.
And then once again, like I said, you don't have to theme the hangers on to your game, but I think it'd be kind of cool if you could.
Yeah. I mean, before I forget, when we were talking about the possible sloppers, like I was saying about Atlantis Miniatures, for my Beth, they make some models who, like some female dwarfs who are and normal dwarfs who are holding pots and bits and pieces that look like they're carrying food.
Yeah. So
they would be ideal, but again, you'd have to 40k them up a bit. But going on to conversions for the Rogue Docs, I know the Scion kit has the medical box / bag as one of the things.
You got the same from the Cadian Guardsman. You've got the medic.
Oh,
from that. And I'm pretty sure he's got he's holding some bandages in his hands.
Has he got a face mask as well?
Maybe.
Yeah, because I was thinking that
there is some head options in there.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe a face mask model would be a way to go for a doc. or I'm thinking even that, or going for a cultist gas mask look, like sort of try not get the plague sort of thing.
Yeah, it were plagues. I did look at some plague doctors, you know, the old sort of medieval ones with the crow's face mask type thing. But the rest of their clothing with the cloaks and bits, it did look too fantasy. Maybe not so much in a redemptionist kind of gang. They might.
I think I might have a little look now. I might try and because I remember the only times I ever really see those Plague Doctor metal models are like the ones you'd get from the Natural History Museum and the scales well off sort of thing. But I have to have a look and see if I can find something cool. Or I was thinking again with your orc kind of Goliath army having a pain boy.
That's a bit of an easy one, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think that's not bad. If you're not au fait with converting and you want a Games Workshop legal model, then I think that's fairly cool.
Awesome. Again, if you guys have any cool ideas, because we can't obviously sample all of the different companies out there. If you've got anything that you think might be a good cook or like a slopper or ammo jack or whatever, and I know some of you have been making models and posting them up anyway, but if you find any cool companies that you think might be good, just whack them up on the Facebook group, or if you wait until the podcast released, you can even just put it in a picture post on that thread.
Yeah, just comment on the thread,
so please do so. That's it for the hangers on. We're now going to be getting into something a bit more beefy, which is the Chaos Cults. So we will have a quick pizza break and we'll get back in a second. Okay, it's time for showcase number 2, which is the Chaos Cult. So again, it's time for Michael and his ready time.
Yeah, it's more cunning reading. I might actually get good at this one day.
It's already better than me.
That'll be a shock. Okay, so this is straight from the White Dwarf, so you can follow along if you wish, and you can pick up all my mistakes. The minds of mortals have always been fertile ground for the dark gods. In soul-crushing drudgery of Necromunda's hive factories, even the faintest promise of power can tempt groups of helot workers, indentured industrial serfs, to corruption. After all, a short and brutal life in the service of the ruinous powers, with even the remotest chance of deliverance, is often preferable to a short and brutal life under the industrial yoke of the clan houses, with only death as a reward for a lifetime of labour. It's kind of
depressing.
My working life. I might put that on a t-shirt or something. Death is the only reward.
I wonder if I could get away with it at my council job as well.
They might look down on that.
Yeah, maybe.
So, further to that, while helot cults work continuously to add to their numbers and spread their influence, their true ambition is something far more sinister. Scattered throughout the hives are cursed sites, places covered in maddening symbols and raised upon floors stained by millennia of blood offerings, where the power of chaos seeps slowly into reality like a veil of poison. Helot cults seek these places out, hoping to prise open the rents and bathe in the malevolent energies that spill forth. The cult demigods especially revere these sites and use the ancient fanes to pray to the dark gods for power. Their hope is that should their efforts bring favour, then one day their dark masters might force their way through the veil between realities and into the hive, possessing the blessed flesh of the faithful and bringing about an age of blood and madness.
Oh, lovely. So
we learned something today as well. We learned what the word helot means because we googled it, and it's all to do with people.
Yeah, it's
slaves and
slaves.
stuff.
It was halfway between a slave and a citizen, wasn't it?
Yeah, so a helot, according to the all-powerful Google, is a member of a class of serfs in ancient Sparta, an intermediate in status between a slave and a citizen.
It sounds about right for a cultist.
Yeah, so that all seems to kind of match. And I like the way they've kind of referenced particular places for these rituals and and such to happen.
Okay.
Because that harks back to Gang War 2, where you've got that one of the tiles in that Delta 7 set, or the rules they've given you, is for a Chaos Shrine.
Okay.
So that's kind of what you could be playing over on this.
Yeah, because I think I read one of the rules is that they can't be
They're not affected
by it. Yeah. So the top 3 features of the cults. I mean, for myself, I've put Khorne as a main kill burn, and skulls and death.
Yeah, and of course you throw into that some red being a predominant colour scheme with brass and whatever else.
Blood.
Yeah. Blood, skulls.
blood, skulls burn, throne, death. Slanesh was like the pleasure of playing claws and naughty bits.
Yeah. Okay.
Tentacles.
So what you can go for a colour option, purple.
Yeah, purple.
Kind of seem appropriate.
Yeah.
And it's also an opportunity for those people that want to use those really extreme third-party miniatures that are just totally sexist or whatever you
not
might
safe for
want.
work.
Yeah, so those really extreme things that you wouldn't necessarily bring to the table all the time when you're just having your little private stash of display cabinets.
Or when Aaron goes to the pleasure dome.
Obviously.
Then you got Nurgle, Pus, Spoils, and Plague I've got.
Yeah, green will be your colour of choice for that, mostly. And then
Flies.
for fat and dirty models.
Yeah.
So anything grotesque, really, I guess.
And I'll be using my Yoo-hoo glue for slime and bits and pieces for that, and the Nurgle's rot and bits and pieces to really slime that stuff up.
Yep.
And all I've got for Zinch is they know it all.
Obviously, because they've seen it.
Exactly.
So colour-wise, look at blue. Would be a fairly sensible
bluey,
road.
purple, gold.
They're magic heavy in pretty much each of the systems that Zinch have been involved in, and fire would be an appropriate.
Yeah, they like flickering, like purpley green flickering.
Yeah, sort of flamey type stuff. So you could replicate that with flame weaponry.
One of the
psychic power things is like a template weapon.
Yeah,
templates.
Yeah, your favourite. Were the old and new sculpts? There wasn't really a cult option really so much in the old Necromunda.
No,
not to really compare the two, because you got the, like you have with the cultist models that you can use as a base. But
yeah, I've basically gone with the Dark Vengeance cultists and I think really if you look at the layout and the stats of everything, it is kind of heavily geared towards that.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they're commercially available. You can't buy a Dark Vengeance box set anywhere.
I know you can buy
You can buy the 5 cultists, but it doesn't get you the leaders.
No.
So I could well believe they may produce that as a box set. It would be an easy one. They've done the sculpts already.
Yeah.
Okay, and the sprues, I can't remember how the Dark Vengeance sprues were laid out, whether they was a mixture of the cultists and the Dark Angels on one sprue, or whether one sprue was just for chaos.
I don't remember, because I just cut mine straight out.
Because you also had Chosen in there as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
And other stuff.
That's a good point.
But if that was already on one area of a sprue,
yeah,
it would be very easy for them just to create a box, use half of a mould, and then produce a Chaos Cult
you're right.
gang.
But yeah, we will be speaking about other possibilities. But yeah, the gang list looked like it was aimed towards what was available in as occultist models were available. So we're going to go into next would be the game style. I know you said that you've noticed.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell just from looking at stats and the abilities and stuff. But I would imagine that you'd want to be getting this gang up pretty close. A lot of the weaponry is short range, bar the heavy stutter, and there's lots of close combat weapon options, and also the witch powers. Most of those are short range.
Yeah.
It'd be like you've got to be within 3 inches or within 2 inches and stuff like that, or you've got the template one, which is I guess 9 inches long or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you're going to need your gang pretty close. So it might not necessarily be aimed at being a combat army, but you need to be there,
Yeah.
and you're going to need to defend yourself. It would certainly be. It's not particularly durable because you've got your relatively low toughness with 3, but 3 of the models on the list have got 2 wounds, which is nice to see.
Yeah.
So you've got your leader, you've got your 2. There's 2 cult leaders, your demagogue, and your witch. Have got 2 wounds, so at least that potentially keeps them on their feet a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Which can be useful. What else is there? Then you've got the magic of the spawn, if that can become a reality. So they've given you an option here. If you're only playing skirmish games, you can actually hire spawn. So you can actually take them from the outset because you're not going to get one of your guys turned into one.
Yeah.
And they're completely random. Like the stats on them are random.
Very cool. Very chaos, isn't it?
I think so. And also, you can't underestimate how good that box set is. The Chaos Spawn stuff has got so many Chaos bits in it. I think it's kind of well renowned as being one of the go-to sources of bits. If you've got Chaos Army, get the Spawn kit, and you can just put those bits all over everything.
I think with this, I suppose it's more for the conversion corner, but just thinking it's because I started a Khorne Demonkin army in bits and pieces, and I was converting bits for that. But even before this came out, now it's come out, I've got like Dark Inquisitor warbands I've made, and my Khorne, like I say, my Khorne Demonkin cultists and bits and pieces that automatically can just fold straight into this. I've already got 2 Chaos gangs without even trying. Like it. That's what I like about it, is that I've already got this stuff, which is why it's annoying that it's all packed up in a box and I can't take photos of it at the moment. Yeah.
The only thing that I find mildly distracting, I'm not going to say annoying, although I just did, with the releases of the rules in White Dwarf, so you've had the Genes to the Cult and this now, is that there's not an option to get the cards.
Right.
So you don't get any special abilities and stuff on these random events.
Right.
I can't think what they're called now. What are the cards called?
They're not strategy cards.
Strategy cards, that would do. Or whatever they might be. So it's a shame that they couldn't add more flavour by having a small deck of cards. They could have had 5 or 6 cards.
On a cardboard sleeve that they used to do, and you used to be able to pop
out
the
could
cards.
even have been a page on the White Dwarf where it had the cards and say you can photocopy it or cut it out if you wish, and then you could have kind of had those to add a little bit of flavour. But that's neither here nor there.
So we'll go into like the unique weapons. So it's a bit different with these guys because their uniqueness is more their flavour than it is their weapons themselves.
Yeah.
So we've got the Dark Ritual at the end of the game. So you could either pick a model as the vessel or randomise it. You roll 2d6 and there's a couple of modifiers. If there's a 9 or more, then you receive the favour of the god that you chose. If it's a 2 or it's a double, or double 1, then the person turns into a Chaos Spawn.
Yep.
So I know that some people were saying that they might try and aim to get a Chaos Spawn. So they, with like different modifiers, they might try and, because if you pick one Chaos thing and then try and flip back to another, that minuses it and bits and pieces.
Yeah, I think it's not been particularly well written. I don't think this is very vague. Firstly, it doesn't really say whether the model that you choose to do the ritual or become the subject of the ritual, whether they can still go off and do their other post-game stuff, like go to the trading post or go to do this. It doesn't really say that it's instead of doing that, and it doesn't also say that it's as well as doing that.
Yeah.
Because you could send a leader model that you might, which is one of your champions, but you might actually want your champion to go and go to the dock or something with someone, or the trading post and look for some rare items. So that's kind of a little bit vague. And also, with the choosing the different gods, the way I read it is when you create the game, you don't actually pick one of the gods to follow. You're just a generic chaos warband And then once you play the game, at the end of that, you then pick one of the gods that you're going to start this ritual off with, and then you go from there. It's vague whether your gang has that god as its umbrella.
Yeah, so once one's got the favour to the whole gang.
Yeah, or whether it's just that individual model that's got it. So it's very strange, because you could potentially have individual models worshipping different gods.
And that's difficult because each of the things is generally a gang multiplier. So Khorne's is once per round you can re-roll a failed wound.
Yeah.
Nurgle's is once per round you can re-roll a recovery roll from one of your fighters. Slaanesh, which is a pretty tasty one, is once per round you can activate one of your fighters. One of your fighters can activate 2 instead of 1.
Yeah, so it's like your leader multiple activations thing, isn't it?
Yeah, or Tzeentch, once per round you can ignore a hit modifier for a single shooting attack. So they all seem to do the gang. So if you do the ritual and then you pass, does that essentially just mean that's it and you don't do any more dark rituals? Because if I was, say, my gang's Khorne and I've gone for Khorne, and if I do, then and I win it, I get that re-roll to once per round re-roll of fail to wound. Now I've got that. Do I need to do the dark ritual every time?
Yeah, I would say you do, because you get a buff to the dice roll if you're praying to the same god that you're already devoted to.
But so do I lose my ritual power after each game? So where I did my one game, I was managed to roll the thing. I've got the favour of Khorne. I've had the whole next game with the Khorne thingy. Do I now lose that and then have to redo it again?
Have to try to get it again. And it's your opportunity then of potentially trying to pray to another one of the gods, of which you're then going to suffer that negative penalty and run more of a risk of failing and becoming a spawn.
And that's fine if I lose it every round. Every game. That's fine, because it would make the ritual make sense. The problem would be is if it doesn't and you keep it, and then I go for Nurgle next time. Does that mean I have Khorne on one dude, Nurgle on another, and then maybe after the next game I can get Slaanesh as well, and another one I can get Tzeentch?
I personally think it's applied to the whole game.
Yeah.
It's just not on an individual basis.
I'm happy with just because like I say, I'm going to theme mine Khorne related, so I don't want mine to have any other thing to it.
Yes.
So I would probably try and just keep going Khorne, but. That's the thing that I'm having trouble reading at the moment. So, if anyone else has a better idea of it,
it'd be interesting to see how people have interpreted it. I would also, from a house ruling perspective, I would have no problem with someone at gang creation stage saying what god they're devoted to, and then getting that buff straight away potentially.
To be fair, my models are Khorne. They're quite obviously Khorne. They use the Khorne Bloodreaver models, so
or even if you didn't give them the benefit, like the Khorne benefit, if you said, right, when I create my game, they're going to be devoted to Khorne, so that means you don't get the benefit during the game, but at the end, when you go to do your ritual, you're already Khorne, and you're praying to Khorne, so therefore you get your +2 or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's fine. And I know that I won't be flicking to anything else after that.
Yeah, and I think if you're modelling stuff, you want to have a cohesive looking gang. I can't imagine that you'd want to have one Slaaneshi dude next to a Nurgle dude, next to a Khorne dude, because it'd just look a bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, especially as some of the Chaos Gods don't get on at all anyway.
Yeah, and that just seems a bit weird. So I think it's an opportunity for someone going, I love me some Nurgle. I'm going to do some big fat bloated smelly guys.
That's it. No, definitely. I think it lends itself to more of a mono god sort of building thing. And then you've got the witches.
Before we go on further to that, I could see a reason why you would want to switch gods.
Right.
if you had, because you've got that risk of the model being turned into a spawn, if you've got one of your models in the campaign and they've got some serious injuries on them, they're barely hanging on to life, they've only got one leg and one arm, one eye, and they're basically not combat effective anymore, you could potentially offer that person up, that model up, for the ritual, change to an alternative god, and basically stack all of those negative modifiers on as much as you can.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you lose a game or if you lose reputation, it's a minus.
Okay.
If something else happens, and
Right.
so you can get like a number of minuses, and you basically just go, right, this invalid.
Dave,
I want this guy to try to be turned into a spawn.
Yeah.
And at least then he'll become an effective model in your game.
Yeah. Dave, stand on that spot over there a minute.
And
Hold this dagger.
And you can kind of see that happening.
Yeah.
Like you get someone, oh, we don't want them anymore because they're useless. Let's go. And let's offer them up. Sacrifice.
Hop along, John. You can go over there. Okay, yeah, so that's wicked. I definitely would like a spawn at some point. And again, I've already got, already converted Khorne Chaos Spawn for my Khorne Demonkin using the vampire counts models, the slightly bigger things that are sprinting at them, and then I've swapped and done some bits with Dark Eldar pain engines and bits and pieces, so I've converted that up, so I'll definitely want to spawn at some point. So the witch powers, so you can have a witch in your army, not particularly corny from what I feel.
No, they've always been an anti-magic faction anyway, so
my Khorne game is not going to have a witch.
No.
But so for a witch, awaken power it's awaken a willpower test, and then if it's passed, pick a power.
Yep.
And this is active until you are wounded, or until you activate another power.
Yep.
If you roll a double, I didn't even read, like, even though I wrote it, I didn't read it. If you roll a double 6, you go out of action. That's pretty hefty as a way to.
Yeah, it's like your perils of the walk type affair that they've kind of always had.
There's no sort of armour set. That used to be an armour save, and it didn't really used to be. But you'd lose a wound, that would be it. Whereas this is no bang, out of action. Your brain's melted. So the first one is Scouring, which is essentially just a strength 3 flamer.
Yeah, it's basically a blaze template weapon.
But it's still pretty cool.
Yep.
Levitation, 2-inch move, ignore pitfalls.
Yeah, it's not as awesome as I would like it to be. I would like that to have had the rules with what's the grappling hook thing that you can rappel down things without hurting yourself. I can't think what that skill or bit of war gear is called, but it would have been nice if you could use that levitation ability to be able to basically walk off of a high walkway and then just float down to ground without hurting yourself.
That allows you to drop.
Yeah, or something like that. Okay, levitation wouldn't be powerful enough perhaps to lift you up to those heights.
Yeah.
But for it to allow you to drop down almost an unlimited distance, but without hurting yourself, that would have been cool.
And you have to finish on solid ground as well, so you can't be levitating.
So that's like the jumping over gaps type thing, isn't it?
It's a shame, because if you were floating above something and then someone shot you, as soon as you got wounded, you'd lose the power, and then you just drop to the floor. So you just that'd just be part of your risk. You can levitate wherever you like, but if someone shoots you, you're going to drop to the floor. Okay, so welcome to the technical difficulties part of the podcast.
Yeah.
We unfortunately ran out of disk space, so we've had to transfer the first part of the podcast over to the hard drive, and now we are back in completing, and we've actually realised that we spoke about a fair bit before realising it had died. So we are going back to levitation.
Our commitment levels might be a little bit lower second time round, but you'll never know because you won't be able to compare it to the first time round.
No.
Because you wasn't here.
So I think we were kind of at the point where we know that it needed to be on solid ground because we couldn't have floaty models like Syndrome, like you said.
I think that would be a bit tricky to represent a model being 12 inches off the table surface.
So then I'm going to, my voice mic keep dipping in and out because I keep turning around to make sure there's still file space left on the computer. So the next is Warp Strength, which I'd already said to Michael would be, if I was going to have a witch in my Khorne army, I'd probably keep pumping through this one. because it's the most corny combat-y
Yeah,
one.
it just buffs you in combat, doesn't it? More strength, more damage.
Dark Shield, which is a buff for people within 3 inches, plus 1 armor save.
Yeah. It's
swings and
useful,
roundabouts.
but my only reservation with that is that it's tending to cluster models together, which leaves you massively open to template and blast weapons. Which, okay, your armour is better, so it might protect you, not get injured, but you will get pinned.
Yeah.
And then effectively you could have a cluster of models that are pinned all by one shot, and that's never a good thing.
No. And then Maddening Visions, which is very cool.
Yeah, I think that could be a real good crack and really annoy someone.
Yes, it's an Aaron special, an Aaron Hypnotise special.
Yeah.
So the enemy has to make a willpower check if they're within 3 inches of the witch.
Yeah, and that's the only downside that I see of it, is the fact that your witch, who isn't particularly combat effective, has to be really close to your opponent.
I mean, to start with, she needs to pass the skill, needs to pass a willpower test to pass the to be able to do the spell. Then they need to fail a willpower check, which does limit it down, and then you have to roll a d6, but they're pretty horrible. So 1 to 2 is on a d6, immediately break, and if they're already broken, then they flee the battlefield.
That could actually work quite well. So although I said that it's bad that your witch has to get so close to your opponent, if you're intent on doing this late game, when your opponent's army might already have broken or bottled, so you could potentially throw this in as a last gasp thing towards the end, and basically make a load more guys run away.
Yeah, it's a Hail Mary, isn't it? And then,
I think so.
3 to 4, the opposing player takes control of a model and completes their actions. You've got to hope that they already haven't taken their actions that turn. But very cool. Always great fun to take control of someone else's stuff.
Most definitely, especially if you can actually do damage with it rather than, I don't know, just wasting the action.
Yeah.
You could potentially shoot your other opponent's models. You could potentially suicide bomb, do something.
If they had a demolition charge, that would be awesome. Just drop it at their own feet.
How funny.
Yeah.
But we had a little bit of debate about whether you could actually make them walk off of a ledge, whether you could voluntarily do that. I think thematically I would allow that to happen.
Yeah, so would I.
But yeah.
And then 5 to 6 is just they fight as normal, and then they take another willpower test at the end of a turn, and if they pass it, they're sane again. Which means it sounds like these people get stuck with this.
Yeah, I think it says that all of the powers, they continue to be in effect until the witch takes a wound.
But if the witch moves away from them and they're not in the 3 inches, do they become sane again automatically, or do they keep? Because it looks like
vagueness, isn't it?
Yeah, it says like 5 and 6 they get out of it, but it might be you blast it there and then you move along, and then if it's still in power, does she just trundle along, just freaking people out within 3 inches of her?
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, for the skill tree, cunning and ferocity, apart from the witch.
Yeah.
And the witch has savant instead, which is all the
this sort of post game stuff mostly.
After the game bits and pieces. And I know we've spoken about all of those already. And so it's up to roster time. I know you were going to go first. Well, you did kind of go first before the thing cut out.
And then the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
Or the stories ran out. Okay, so the game that I created, it's based around the Dark Vengeance cultists. So unfortunately, I don't think they're available to buy other than the very small box of 4 or 5 cultists that you can buy, which doesn't give you all the options that you'd want.
Doesn't give you Flamer Dude.
No, that's right. But using the stuff that was in the Dark Vengeance, you've basically got a demigod model, and the weapon loadout, surprise, surprise, is pretty much in line with what's available on your starting roster options. So the guy has got a shotgun and he's got a sword. I also gave him flak armour and an auto pistol, just to give him a little bit of protection and also extra attack in close combat. Plus, if he fails an ammo check, then he's got an alternative shooting weapon.
Yeah.
I chose to have 2 disciples, gone for the mega expensive options They're effectively champions, so I've given one a heavy flamer, one a heavy stubber. This is certainly not going to be a competitive game because there's so many points sunk into that. And with the heavy flamer, there isn't really an easy way to get him where he can move and shoot. Genius of the Cult, you had the extra arm option, so you could pay some credits and allow your heavy weapon guy to be able to move and shoot. There's nothing readily available on the skills tree options that would allow him to be able to do something to be able to shoot.
Yeah, on the group that I was asking that question on, the ones that mainly came back was using Overseer on the leader, so allowing them to have a second turn.
Yeah, so you could kind of move them
and then shoot.
And then shoot when he actually activates that model. Yeah.
But then that takes your leader out, and if they've got decent weapons and stats, you're kind of stopping yourself there.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a war gear option that makes the weapons not unwieldy anymore. And I know someone called them suspension, but it's not. I think it's called something else. But then you can't have that for the first game anyway, and you'd have to source it.
I think it's going to take you like a few games for that model to actually start to do any work, really. Maybe in the 2D version of the game it would be slightly better because there's more opportunities if you're hiding out of sight around corners and things like that, or behind a door. So you could kind of spend a turn or two moving up to get in position behind a door, and then have one of your other gang members open that door, and then that guy can just stand there and flame. In 3D wise, area denial perhaps is a decent job for him to do, but that's dependent on what your scenario is.
It's a lot of credits for area denial.
It is a hell of a lot of points, So, but I included him because I've got the model, and that was one of the cultist models. The Witch, I used what was another champion leader model. It's the guy that's got the little clawy hand as if he's doing some magic stuff, in my mind. He's got the axe, but I will convert that to a pistol of some sort, because I've armed him with flak armour, an auto pistol, so he's got some ranged shooting attacks, and I've given him the flensing claw, which is a kind of one of the unique weapons as such for the cult, but they don't give you any fluff or description about what that might be to try and get you excited about it. It's just a strength weapon that gives you +1 to hit. So it's not particularly exciting, but I've given it to him anyway.
Did it give you...
I don't think there's any other bonuses for it at all.
Because I saw it as well.
It gives you +1 to hit. Here we go. Strength user, 1 damage. Melee and disarm.
It's got disarm.
Yeah, so it's got an ability, but it's not groundbreaking. It's relatively expensive for what it is, to be fair. And then I'll top that off with 4 cultists. And the loadouts on these are based on what was in the Dark Vengeance box. So I've got 2 guys that have got auto pistols. One of them's got a flail, and the other one's got a maul. And then I've got 2 guys with auto guns. Cool. And that's allowed me to use 8 models. Each of them is different, so they look different on the table. And there's still a couple more sculpts available if I want you to add more members.
Cool.
And I would imagine that if you can get hold of one of these Chaos cultist sets from Dark Vengeance, they're possibly not that expensive.
No. And I think people still probably sell them on eBay and stuff.
Yeah, I imagine they'll be available second hand.
Okay, so... And what Chaos faction would you be probably aiming at?
Well, initially I was under the impression that you start not being aligned to one of them, but I would probably go for Nurgle.
Okay.
I just like the little buff for that. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is now. We've moved on a bit.
The reroll to an injury roll, I think, once per...
Yeah, I think that was it, yeah. And that's just a way of trying to keep your models alive. If you get that really bad roll for an injury, you get that skull pop up.
A reroll recovery, for one.
Yeah, so you got your guy down and he's getting a bit low on his wounds or whatever he might be, and you roll your recovery and you get the skull, you think, oh, he's out of action. And you think, well, actually, I'll re-roll that, and then hopefully he might not be out of action.
Yeah.
You take that flesh wound and then get up next to him.
Yeah, no, it is a helpful little safety net. Okay, I'll go into mine. So mine, a corny based one. I know that I'd already discussed that I've got Khorne Demon King cultists. I made them out of the Bloodbound models. Some of the ones that I did use for my Goliath Jews in the end, which were my main Goliath army until the Goliaths came out. So yeah, they're cultists. I haven't added a witch to my army, like I've discussed, because we don't use a psychers. Yeah. So my demagogue has a flail and a shotgun. I think because I was basing it off a certain model. Yes, I was gonna. There's a AOS model, one of the Khorne Bloodbound models that's got big spiky horns and a big fat belly and a trident and a whip. I'll have to put a
it's
picture.
got the Blood Stoker.
And it's got like a big Khorne chest plate and a big spiky hat.
Yeah, I think he's the one that whips up the cold guys into a frenzy, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so I was going to use, that's why I was thinking, what did I pick? Yeah, so I'm going to use him as, he's got the flail, and where he did have the trident sort of weapon, he's going to have the shotgun in that hand pointing it at someone and screaming. So that's my leader. Sorry, my demagogue. Then the cult disciples, again, I did the same thing, I went heavy flamer. I think if I was going to play this actual army, I'm not sure I'd actually do it, because at the moment, what I would do was probably have them both go, and then if any of them got a chance to get that as their secondary skill, and then gave them bulging biceps, that's probably the only time, unless I found another way, because I want my leader to fight, not to have to tell my flamer to have another turn.
Yeah, I think if you was doing a competitive cultist list, I don't think you'd include either of those heavy weapons.
No.
I think you'd rather be better off spending them additional almost 400 points, 300 plus points, on either more cultists so you can effectively get a hauled army, or to get slightly less powerful weaponry but more of them.
Yeah, because I think that would... Yeah, either I'd give him a heavy stabber in the end, maybe, because he could still technically stand and fire.
Yeah.
Still, but I love the idea of a heavy flamer, but without the bulging biceps or anything along that line to start with, I don't know.
It's hard to justify the cost.
Because if you were smart, you would never get close, and so I'd constantly have to keep coming closer to try and get to flamer range, and every time I then can't use, or if I'm lucky to get a tactic card that gives me an extra action or whatever, then possibly, but I'm hoping on ifs, buts and maybes at that point.
Yeah, or getting that lucky priority roll or something.
Yeah, or making sure that he's the last person who runs in but the first person who gets the next go, sort of thing. And then I've got another disciple, he's got a shotgun, a sword and an auto pistol, so essentially using what you've used as a leader as one of my disciples. And then I've got a variety of, I've got 5 cultists here. Some have auto pistol and axe because they're the AOS models, they had the axe already, and then with where one of their weapons was holding another hand-to-hand combat weapon, I swapped it for a Zinj Industries gun of some sort, which will be the auto pistol. So 2 have auto pistol and axe. One has an auto gun, auto pistol and axe. One has a shotgun, auto pistol and axe. And one has an auto gun, auto pistol and sword. So again, they're the AOS models, but they've got a gun strapped to their back with a green stuff strap that runs across their chest to hold it across their back. So they've still got the weapon. You can see they've got the weapon, they're just not currently holding that weapon. And that was up to 900 points because I didn't have a witch as well, which would have sapped a lot of points.
So how many models that give you total?
So that's 8 total.
Yeah, so it's the same number as mine, and you didn't have the every weapon. So you've got better equipment spread out amongst more guys.
So what I could even do is, if I took the heavy flamer away, which is 195 points, I could even then have 3 more cultists with auto pistol and axe essentially, and that would be 3 extra dudes, which would bring that up to 11 models from 8.
The advantage of having more guys is that also when it comes to the ritual, and you want to try and fudge that and then kill one of your guys in the hope of getting a spawn, then you've got more guys that you can justify sacrificing.
That's it. But yeah, that's it for those. I picked the heavy flamer because he's the first gang where I could have a heavy flamer from standard, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to use it, so I don't think I would actually have that in an actual gang that I would use.
I can't for the life of me remember how the points for the heavy flamer came, or how it compares to this in the White Dwarf. Whether this is the standard price for the heavy flamer, if it's has it been published before?
And it's probably in the Gang War 3 book, or it's definitely in the Goliath list, but I can't remember what the prime cost is, because now they've got their own weapons sprue, they've got their own weapons list, so I don't know how much they pay for
whether
theirs.
these are getting it at a premium or whether they're getting it discounted.
I'm not sure.
Not, because it just seems pretty expensive.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy to pay those points if I could fire it, and I understand why it's unwieldy, but it just limits its ability so much that I might only fire it once in the game, and I'd need to at least hit 3 models to justify it, and I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point where someone has got to a situation where they've allowed me to get close enough to spit a heavy flamer over that many models for that one turn.
It'd be nice if because it's not a weapon you need to aim as such, because you're basically just spraying an area with flammable liquid. So it would be nice if you had the option, if you're standing still and you do it, then your chances of wounding a model is higher than if you was to move and spray.
Yeah.
So whether they could do that, I don't know.
Yeah, that would actually.
It feels like it's almost a weapon that you're never realistically going to choose. Although both of us did.
Yeah, but again, I choose it because it's the first time I got to choose it, but I wouldn't use it. I don't think if I had to take Chaos as my game, I don't think I'd have the heavy flamer in it.
Yeah, I think maybe we could have gone around this a slightly different way and said, right, let's make 2 gangs. We say one that your heart says that's what you want, and then the other one which is the realistic one that you think actually might be better in game. But
I think I might have to do that for the bounty hunters.
Just go hog wild on one, and then have a slightly more realistic toned down one.
Yeah, I'd make one that's next week. Next podcast I might try and make a Spire style one, like I was saying with that guy who's chubbed things together. I think one of his gang members, without even buying the model, without buying the modelling credits, just the weapons was like 200 credits just for the weapons that Spire would kind of use and stuff like that. So yeah, it would have been expensive, but again, they only had 5 models, so it does fit it perfectly. So it's conversion corner time then. I know we've actually both spoken a few times about what we would use.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered it really, haven't we?
I mean, for my Slanesh models, because I've got the Dark Inquisitor warbands. I'll post those pictures when I can get my models out as well. So they at the time were using Dark Eldar parts and the Slanesh old models, the ones with the claws and bits and pieces. So it was a mixture of those, and they were my Death Cult assassins in my army, but they're easily going to be trimmed where I might even just take off one of the claws and change it to a hand, and then they've got a weapon and bits and pieces. So for Slanesh it would be more like the Dark Angel, sort of female, spiky, dark. Yeah, so a lot of Dark Eldar stuff can be pulled. Dark Elves from AOS /
I think also the spawn kit. I think if you was doing this as a gang and this is what you wanted to do, I think you would find the Age of Sigmar, not Age of Sigmar, Cest, got one thing on my mind, plus I'm a bit tired. This is quite a late one for us.
Yeah, this is our late night episode.
You're lucky we're still awake, and yet not a drop of beer has been drunk.
I think I would sleep if I drank a beer now.
So I would use the Dark Vengeance Cultists because they should be readily available secondhand, and then I would buy the Chaos Spawn box as well. One, because there's always that risk that one of you guys might get turned to a spawn, or you could try and play for that. And secondly, there's so many bits and pieces in that kit that you could use that for conversions. Even although there's nothing in this little rule set for mutations, you could do count saves for the close combat weapons. So where one of them might have a flail, you could put a tentacle, and that could be the flail. And such
you can save it for the scalies if they're coming out soon. The scalies, scalies are a type of scale. Or even terrain bits coming out from the doors and stuff like that.
Yeah, you've got your little tentacle thing coming out the grate and stuff like that. You can do a few more of those.
Yeah, don't stand too near it or you get pulled in.
So I think that's what I would kind of do. Or if you wanted a different aesthetic, if you was going for Nurgle, then there's plenty of 40k Nurgle models around that you could easily slot into these different
loads of opportunities just for green stuff and
just making something a
using
bit more
the tentacle
chubby
maker again.
A few boils here and there.
Yeah, and guts. I love my tentacle maker so much. I need to get the bigger one. But yeah, so essentially, again, please put up your. I mean, a lot of us have got chaos models. Even like all my chaos models didn't come from making it from Necromunda. They were from all my old chaos stuff. So if you've got old models that you've now realised you can use for something else and you're just snapping off the base, post them up on the group as well, because we'd like to know all the other alternative minis that there are, because I know every so often someone will put up a post saying what would you use an alternative miniature for the witch, and then people would shove stuff up, but eventually enough people will post where that thing disappears. So again, if you're going to do it and it's related to the podcast episode, then put it on the
comment. Yeah.
And so anyone who's listened to it can then see all the comments and things that have been linked to that podcast, so it's easier for everyone to actually grab an idea. So that'll probably be how we go with it. Okay, so should we jump into the games play, because neither of us
it's going to be a very short section. We'll go straight in. So I haven't played any Necromunda at all, but I do have a game planned for next week.
Nice.
And that game is going to be play testing my zombie scenario that I'm coming up with. So hopefully for the next show I shall be able to report back on how that scenario plays out.
Nice. And then hopefully if it goes well and wasn't a complete disaster, then me and Erin can join in and get involved with that.
Yeah, if we can get a recording day on a weekend or whatever it is, we could possibly be playing and then recording, but we'll have to see how the calendars work out for that. So no promises.
No. And mine, unfortunately, I've not played any because I've just been moving house like an idiot, and it's all just all over the place. So my stuff's all in boxes. I can't even bring myself, until I know where I've got a place to put everything, I can't bring myself to go through all the boxes, because
it's just madness opening boxes up. Don't do it.
Well, I've got nowhere to put, so I'm like, there's my models, where am I putting them? Until I've got somewhere to put anything, there's no point me just touching my stuff yet, which is frustrating, but the housework is getting done now, so it will be close to being able to order the boxes and cupboards and tables and display cases and stuff, so I am looking forward to that, but at the moment it's just not a thing.
But on a positive note, you have got a local gaming place.
Yes, and I will be joining their campaign, so I will be getting some games that way.
Yeah, so I think that would be good for you, because then you can, if you're able to, you can get those regular games in, whether it's once a week or once a fortnight or something like that.
Yeah, get my Goliaths a bit of a dusting off.
Yeah.
Get them crushing skulls and shouting witness, and
that'll give us something to talk about.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, we're going to stop for a sec, and then we'll be at the thank you stage and all the cool stuff we've seen on the group today. So there's quite a bit, so I'll stop and we'll get back before the memory runs out. Okay, time for the last segment, the thank yous and the discussing of the Facebook page. So, thank you again for Versatile Terrain for their competition. Don't forget, it's only 600 followers we need for the Instagram account, Necromunda Tom.
And the last count, that was less than 20 more people required?
Yeah, I think there was only 17 left. So if you're wanting to get involved in that, please do so, because at 17, that is when I'll start putting the name out of someone who has followed us and liked the group. So you've not got long. Just try and beat everyone else.
It might even be smashed by the time this gets released.
That is technically also true. That would be a bit harsh. There might have to be one space left, but hey ho.
Yeah, by the way, we've got a competition, but it's closed now.
Yeah. We've got the Future Promethean Forge.
Yes, that one is going to be the making up a scenario type competition. We're going to wait for this other Versatile Terrain competition to be resolved first of all, and then once we're all settled and the winner is sorted, then I'll come out and announce that officially.
Super. Thank you again for Mike Thomas, who's a Six Town Scenery, for the 3D terrain. And again, I haven't had time to paint it yet because none of my stuff is actually out. But if you want to find some 3D terrain, you can find him on Facebook, which will link to his eBay account. And then also if you message him directly, if you're part of the group, he said that he's able to sort out a discount in regards to those orders as well. So if you find anything you like on his eBay page, hit him a message on Facebook and just say you're part of the group and see what he can do in regards to a discount. We're actually at the bit... before I forget, thank you for the Weird Boys group in Bedford for making it so welcoming. It was really cool, and it was really nice to know that I've got somewhere that I can carry on playing.
Or paint in the corner.
Yeah, or paint the corner. Well, at this place I couldn't because it was a bit smaller, but the bigger place might be fine. I might just not play again. So it's 2 things that we've seen. Do you want to go first, then I'll start etching stuff on?
You run down your list.
Okay.
Because I've got a couple of comments for some of those, and then I've got a few extras to take
sweet.
at the end.
Okay, so Martin Fishing's Promethean Forged Servitor, that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's what I think. I've got a set of the tracks, or what he's done, he's used the tracks from the Taurox.
Right.
Made a little
I've got
buggy.
some of them.
Yeah, made a little buggy, and it looks like he's got a servitor body and head, torso on the front of that. I think I'm going to steal that with pride, I think, because seems I've got some of those tracks lying around.
Thank you, Martin.
And I'll make exactly the same thing, but I'll put something slightly different on the front, and then I'll use that as an ammo jack.
Cool. There's Ross Watson's Slump Day Times newsletter, which is linked to their campaign. I posted the first one on our group, and I know that he's just recently posted the next one. He's part of the Milton Keynes Necromunda group, Necromunda MK, and I'm hoping to get some games down that way because it's not too far from Bedford. There is Summit Guides, which I don't think is his name, but he's got the Zug model, which is the Blood Bowl figure.
That's
really
my
cool.
interest, seeing as I've just recently picked up Blood Bowl again and got a little bit of interest in that. It's great what he's done.
Yes.
I would not have dreamed of taking that model. It was a Forge World resin one, so it's a few quid.
Yeah.
And then he just hacked it up and go, no, I'm putting guns on this.
Yeah.
And he's just done an awesome job.
Yeah, and it's good because it's the pose it's in. It's like it's charging straight at you. And then there's Jason Wingett's Gore Hawthorne, which is really cool. And he's also done the Grub Thargson models. Thanks. It was Carl Walker who helped me find the Beth model. I know I'd found it before, and at the time I didn't think that they would sell the single because I met them at Salute. But he said to send them the message, and that's how I got the single model.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take that top tip on board.
Yeah, just ask. You never know.
That's it. You've got nothing to lose.
I literally just looked on the Facebook page again, and I've just seen Michael Green has just done some terrain with some really cool graffiti on it. So that looks really wicked. Matt Lupus, who posted on like the felt sort of stuff that you can stick to MDF to make it slightly more 3D. I think that's quite cool because I've got quite a lot of flat 3Ds. I mean, flat MDF. So I might have a look at that to stick to some of my.
It's just there to break it up, isn't it?
Yeah.
The flat surfaces are so hard.
Yeah, especially on the flat floors and bits, just some little bits, and on some of the walls. I think I will have a look at getting some of them.
The other thing I saw is you can use when they do drywall stuff for plastering and stuff. On the tape they use for the seams, it's like a mesh string, but with an adhesive stuff on it. So you can buy that. It's cheap.
Okay.
You can kind of make walkways and things like that with it.
Okay.
So you can just lay that down, stick it, and it will take paint because it's designed for being decorated or being skimmed over with plaster.
Okay.
So I might see about getting some of that. It might be a
send
way.
me a link to the thing so I can see what you mean.
Yeah, I'll just pick up a roll.
Oh yeah, that might help. Okay, cool. I've got Finlay Robertson. He's made the Squat Bounty Hunters. So he's made a whole squad of them because I know he posted the leader and now he's posted the whole lot.
Yeah.
Michael Monk. Because also I did some of these that you haven't seen yet. That's why. Michael Monk has also managed to make terrain out of pizza cheese. He's managed to get it looks awesome, but he's managed to get pizza cheese from the oven and turn it into terrain. It looks like lava.
Edible terrain.
It's
I'm
awesome.
all for that.
Yeah, so he's managed to make some out waste cheese from the oven into terrain. So I'm quite impressed. There's Dave Clark's converted Gene Stealer Cult Gang. So some of the models are slightly different. So, he's the one that's got the Clory rock drill things slightly converted. His
I saw one that I really like the look of, a Gene Stealer Cult one, and they had like a yellowy tinge to the fabric.
Okay.
I can't remember for the life of me. I can't remember how many days ago this was that I saw it. But yeah, the yellow looked really good. It wasn't like a really bright, like an orc,
right,
sort of bad moon, bright yellow. It was quite sort of dirty looking, but I really liked that. I'm going to have to try and find it again.
Yeah, because I remember Dave's ones when I saw them they were just plastic at the time. I mean, it could have been him that's painted them.
Yeah, maybe.
Jason Turner's one with Van Saar won the best painted at the Underhive event in the Adepticon.
Yeah, that's a nice accolade.
Yeah, so well done, Jason. I think he technically stole my idea for Van Saar models using the Gene Stealer Cult stuff.
So what you're saying is that he should send the award to you?
Oh, technically, I know I haven't painted my models, but I'm sure I was the first one to ever come up with that idea.
Obviously.
Yeah, definitely the first. But well done, Jason. The Necromunda Worldwide have now they're fine with me posting the podcast on their group, so thank you for that.
Good.
Well, they technically haven't told me no, so at the same time, they haven't taken it away either, so thank you guys. And then just the normal group, so the Necromunda Yorkshire group, the Necromunda MK group, which I'll hopefully be playing, Necromunda Ireland, there's the Swindon Necromunda group, and thank you again for the Bedford Weird Boys for being so accommodating, so I'll be playing games there too.
That's good. Like the only other couple of things I've got to add to that, we talked about the Squat Bounty Hunters. We've got Nick Johnson. He's converted some, I think they're Zangors from, they're like Zench sort of warriors. They look very much like, they're suitable in my eyes as Goliath stand-ins because they're all muscle and everything else. But they're not quite as comedy. Like the Goliath guys are really round and muscly, whereas these ones are really tall, lean and muscly.
What was the guy's name?
It was Nick Johnson.
Nick.
And the models have got like a Zinch mask on as well. You could swap the heads if that wasn't your thing. But I think they look really good, and they've got a kind of Spartan 300 kind of look to them.
Okay.
And the fact that they're Games Workshop models means that you've got no issues with going to Games Workshop events or playing in their stores, which is what some people, if you're doing counts as armies, then sometimes that's a bit of a bind that you can't really get around.
I can't find his models.
No.
Annoyingly.
They'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Right.
You can look once Aaron's done the editing.
No, it's not good enough. I want to see it now.
No.
I'll have to message Nick directly.
Right. Yeah, send me pictures. Yeah. And that's it, really.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited for next month's episode. Not so much for the Vansar, mainly for the bounty hunters. I think there's going to be lots of potential for me making at least 10 different.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ultimate converters gang, isn't it, really? Because it's designed that you're going to have a bit of a hodgepodge, bit of a mixture, and you can kind of give them whatever you want. Yeah,
because it's anyone who liked the old Inquisitor style game that's now plays the Inquisitor 28mm version of it, the community-led sort of thing. There's Necromunda, which is the kind of community-based mix between the both, and now the actual Necromunda game gives you the option too. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. By next month, I should have had my room completed and actually be blasting through some of the stuff.
Nice.
My first port of call will be the terrain, because I just want to get that finished and get that playable, and both from Mike Thomas, the 3D, and then Promethean forward with the MDF. I just want to get them done to a point where I'm happy. I might even try using oil paint and stuff like that, try some different techniques. But
it would also be nice to use them as a backdrop, if nothing else, to use them as a backdrop for when you're photographing other miniatures. You know, because they was kind enough to donate them to us.
Yeah, definitely.
For that, so we're more than happy to show it off.
Yeah, well, the Promethean Forge stuff that all fits in those 2 boxes will be the stuff I'll probably take with me to play at the games that I play, because
it's transportable.
Yeah, and they also, a lot of the gaming groups, if they're not Necromunda focused, will have more 40k-ish sort of terrain, so I can't expect them to have my terrain also, so I'll just bring it along with me.
No, that's good.
But yeah, so thank you everyone. Sorry about Aaron. We will drag him out of the pleasure dome,
kicking and screaming.
Yeah, and even trying to grab hold of him with all the baby oil. So it will be a bit slippery, but
like a slippery pig.
That's it. But we will endeavour to drag him out for the next episode, and we will hope to see you soon. So have a good evening, and we will catch you next month for Vansar and Bounty Hunters.
Gang War 3.
Gang War 3. Oh, and Pets. Oh, blimey.
Oh, it goes on and on. Yeah. It's going to be another big one.
And I'm going to have to... And I'm going to have to... and we're going to have to probably split it into 2, unless I can convince my father-in-law to start deleting out some pretty heavy size stuff. So... have a good one, everybody, and we will catch you very soon.
Have fun.
Bye-bye. And that was the end of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. All the things we talk about in this podcast can be found at the Chronicles from the Underhive Facebook group, where we'll post up links to all of the websites we discussed and the current projects we're working on. Come and join us and post up your Necromunda projects. We hope to see you there, and may you never roll a double on your gambling game.